Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
4 and 2, and for all you old-timers, cardiac kids come to mind?
Oh, my goodness.
I mean, that's exactly what it's been the last 2 weeks, as they snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat.
Talk to him, Jay.
How many of those did you give out?
Talk to him, Jay. I'm giving out 5 yesterday. I'm giving out thousands today. You never know where you might see your boy G play.
Thousands?
I mean, it's it's hyperbole. We're not going to do all that.
You're giving away multiple.
Multiple. Plethora.
That leaves it open-ended.
Yes.
What a game. What an absolute crazy game.
Yes, sir.
If you had heart pressure or blood pressure or heart medicine, you probably took a double dose of it, as the Browns somehow, some way, find a way to overcome a poor defensive effort, minus that of Myles Garrett.
The game makes no sense at all.
It doesn't. If you're looking to make sense of this, it's not there. Let's do our shotgun reactions. We'll start with you, Bull. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we'll get into plenty of things to criticize from the game or going forward. And there is things, if the Browns are going to get to where we want them to be, that need to get better, need to be critical. But here's the most important thing. And Browns fans, better than anybody, should understand this. The team is 4 and 2. There are problems. But you know what? There's teams with 2 and 4 that have problems. There's teams with 3 and 3 that have problems. No team looks great right now. There's some teams that look really. We thought the Lions were starting to come be the best team in the league. Then they got their ass kicked by the Ravens. Now the Ravens look like the best team. Wouldn't surprise me if they lost the next game they played. That's the way the NFL is. So yeah, there's some sloppiness. There's a lot to clean up. But the most important thing is 2 games in a row, the Browns, who traditionally find ways to lose, have found ways to win.
Jason.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going to go. Just the fact that they're getting some calls that went their way, some questionable calls that they've never gotten before.
Right.
And they're taking advantage of it. But they do, we're going to get into this. I mean, you could go 100 different ways. I think Myles is the front runner now for Defensive Player of the Year. That game yesterday is going to be replayed for the rest of the season. But also, we'll spend a lot of time on this week. The Browns have to do something about the quarterback position. I don't know how you can continue to go with P.J. Walker as the backup plan right now, because you're playing with fire. And from what we saw with Deshaun Watson yesterday, I don't know how you can count on him right now at this point. There's a lot of questions right now at the quarterback position.
G. Bush.
Hey, man, listen, I was telling them earlier, when you talk about the situation with Kevin Stefanski, I've been very vocal about what his ups and downs have been. But I'll give him credit. He played going into that game with Deshaun Watson, and he made a decision he did not make a couple years ago, which shows me that he's learning from situations. He made the decision that said, listen, Deshaun, you're not looking good right now. I don't know what it is. It could be you, rust, or you're injured. But I'm gonna make a play what's best for the team. We're gonna sit you down and we're gonna go with P.J. Walker. That takes a lot of heart. That's especially when you know what the expectation level is for Deshaun Watson. So I thought Kevin Stefanski did a good job in just saying we got to go with what we know, and then figuring it out on the run. They've made some adjustments. They haven't been perfect. Play calling isn't perfect, but there is a lot that you could take away from this game that you should like and love, and moving forward, if you could get the same type of stuff to happen, as well as getting the quarterback play together, you might have something special, Jay.
I always say it. After a win, the warts are diminished. I think what the Browns need to do after these 2 wins, how close they were, is focus in on those warts. Mm-hmm. Forget the result of the game. It was a win, and you never apologize for wins in the NFL. And, Bull, you're exactly right. These are games we've watched this team lose for the last 30 years, just like the ones we saw last week and the one we saw yesterday. Those are L's. They have always been L's. How were these victories when they should have been defeats? Because both of those games, let's face it, should have been losses. In the old Browns, those are losses. So how'd they win them? Well, we talk about this all the time, and we've always been critical when it's been bad culture. But maybe, just maybe, now we're starting to see good culture. The team never gave up. There were plenty of opportunities to quit. They never quit. I don't know if Jim Schwartz brought that with him. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski has turned a corner when it comes to culture and attitude. But all of a sudden, when you win games like this, you not only know you can, you expect to win games like this. And that can easily turn a 7-10 into a 10-7. Don't apologize, but focus on all the mistakes you've made over the last 2 weeks and thank your lucky stars. Because quite frankly, 4-2 could just as easily be 2-4. But it's not.
The Browns, I'll use a word to describe the Browns that I don't know if I've ever used in the entire time I've been covering this team. They're resilient.
Yeah, you're right.
They are a very resilient team right now.
And they're getting breaks. They were lucky yesterday.
They certainly got some breaks, no doubt, but that's it. I always get mad when our fans complain about the officials, and I'll say the same thing about Colts fans. Shut up. That's part of the game.
Yeah.
You're going to get some calls in your favor. You're going to go some calls against you. That's it. What's amazing is they've somehow won these 2 games, guys, and they did it 2 different ways. In the Niners game, the defense was phenomenal.
Right.
And they won that game basically on the defense.
Sure.
Whereas this game, I can only point to like a couple of individuals. Like Myles was amazing, and Dustin Hopkins was amazing, and they don't win. If either of those guys isn't there, they lose this game and maybe lose it handily. But the defense didn't play great. They made some big plays, mostly by Myles Garrett.
Yeah.
And by the way, be careful what you ask for. We was nitpicking on the turnovers. They got 4 turnovers, but they also gave up 38 points.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was such a weird game.
Sometimes it's a give and take.
It is. It was really you said at the top, and this was what I thought the second the game was over. This game doesn't make any sense.
No.
Gardner Minshew threw for 300 yards. He's 0-8 when he does that.
Yeah.
If you would have, I did not have this on my bingo card. I did not have Gardner Minshew torching the Browns defense. I just didn't.
Not only with his arm, but his legs too.
His legs as well. And it literally was.
Yeah.
It was Hopkins and Garrett, and then a bunch of bad football.
Mostly.
I mean, the offense. When you look at the offensive numbers, just like Pittsburgh had to look at the numbers the next day after they beat us, I'm sure in the meeting rooms they were going, how'd we do that?
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Browns are saying the same thing today.
Yeah, Mike makes fun of my tweeting, but I tweeted yesterday that they had 75 passing yards, 72 passing yards, and 30 points midway through the third quarter. How on earth is that even logical?
Yeah.
Thank goodness, by the way, for the long forward run at the beginning.
Yeah.
Besides that, he had like 5 carries for 30 yards.
No, he had like 10 carries for 5 yards.
Yeah, he did nothing aside from that.
Yeah, besides that, he was out of here.
So, I mean, it's feast or famine with him.
And now, who knows the injury
hurt.
status
I
of
know.
him.
I
They're
know.
down to their 3rd and 4th string running backs now.
We got to say our first hello of the day to Mikey McNuggets. Mikey, I imagine, again, for the second straight week, that postgame show must have been an absolute roller coaster.
Yeah, it was up and down, that final goal line drive, stand, the penalties. It was a lot of fun. Make sure you guys go check it out. We got a lot to talk about today, and we're going to start with the quarterbacks. But before we do that, I need to tell the good people out in the world that if you're looking to get in on any NFL, NBA, MLB gambling, you got to do it with FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook for a reason. Right now, brand new customers get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed win or lose, when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 guaranteed in bonus bets, win or lose. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is literally no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. You can visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in the NFL action. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Also, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And our FanDuel ticket of the week this week comes from Maddie_13Ice, who turned a $6 same-game parlay on the Ohio State game into a $70 winning ticket. He had a Marvin Harrison anytime touchdown score, Ohio State with the spread, McCord over 238.5 passing yards, and Marvin Harrison to eclipse 100 receiving yards. He hit on all 4 of those, and that $6 ticket turned into a $70 win. So shout out to Matty Ice. Shout out to FanDuel.
And Mike, the FanDuel point spread for the Browns this week at Seattle, the Seahawks are open as a 2.5-point favorite.
And by the way, McNuggets, I just noticed this weekend as I was at the crib, Marvin Harrison has the coldest nickname in the game right now. Maserati Marv. That is crazy, Gus Johnson.
I never heard that until yesterday.
But I was like, and they were saying it back to back like it was Magic Johnson.
Guys,
Gus
more on
Johnson.
that coming up in overtime.
Yeah,
We're going to talk Ohio State in overtime, but we got to talk quarterback.
It was
Deshaun
nuts. I do
Watson,
like that a lot.
P.J. Walker. It was something, and I'll leave it at that and open the floor to you guys. In hindsight, should Deshaun Watson have started? Yes or no?
Well, absolutely not.
No,
Absolutely.
obviously.
I mean, that's the easiest question we'll answer.
You know
all
what's
week.
funny? I thought about this yesterday. Remember when Mike was giving us those ridiculous what's more likely to
Yeah.
happen, and they were totally ridiculous. One of them was Deshaun would get benched. Well, guess what? Deshaun got benched.
Essentially, he did.
He got benched. He
Yeah.
wasn't pulled for medical reasons. His shoulder was medically cleared concussion protocol. He was pulled from the game because he was ineffective. So congratulations, Mike. The one thing that we thought would never happen happened.
And
He
what's
was benched.
crazy is, so he threw 5 balls. His first one was, a short pass that he drilled into the dirt. Really, he threw 2 interceptions. I mean, the box score shows 1. If the ball
The other
doesn't
one got
move
dropped,
a half of an inch, it's 2 interceptions. He, right now, will hurt this football team if he goes under center. And, guys, I know that we're going to talk about this all week and ad nauseum throughout the season. I think you shut him down. I don't think he's going to get better. I exchanged some texts with my orthopedic surgeon that did my shoulder. I asked him about this micro tear. How bad is it? What could this do? He said, look, the way to fix it is inactivity for 4 months or get surgery. And I don't see either. I don't see the inactivity for 4 months.
Well, the Browns are obviously not thinking about that.
They're
because
not.
Kevin Stefanski after the game said he's going to play again next
Don't
week.
know how.
Deshaun Watson,
I think he just said that just to get out of the press conference and tap down the fire.
You do?
Yep.
Why would he? Why?
That was a good lie. That was a great lie.
But why say that?
Because
Why not?
There'll be time to talk about that.
It's worse if he says, I don't know. That's even worse then.
It's worse if he says, you know what, he was just ineffective today. I'm benching him. You bench 230 today for P.J. Walker? Does that mean he's just not good? You see all the questions that come out.
Well, he wasn't good yesterday, and that was obvious from the very first throw.
Yeah.
Now, guys, 4-2 is 4-2. I know that after you look at what the Ravens did yesterday, I mean, the Ravens are clearly starting to establish themselves as the team in the division, but you're still 4-2, and you've got to do something, and I don't think it's going to happen with number 4. I don't. And for him to say, we'll see, after the coach said he's good, again, we're on 2 different pages here.
Jay, the
And
guy,
it's not a good look.
Jay, the guy's clear. He's clearly hurt. I said it 3 weeks ago. I said the Cleveland Browns in a blog on UCSS, I say, listen, you might as well get used to life without him. He's not going to be right all year. It's going to be something they're going to have to deal with, and they got to go out and find somebody. He's not going to be able to play like he wants to play the entire year. When we talked about when he should come back, I say he should come back Baltimore week. What is that? That's even after
Week
the
10.
Cardinals game.
Yeah.
Week 8. I think you shut him down, put him on the IR for 4 weeks or whatever you can do, so you don't even got to talk about it. And let's see if he can get old. The first pass told you all you needed to see. When he skipped that ball, and it was 4 dollars, it was over. I was like, oh yeah.
I said the same thing.
He was awful. He was awful in those 5 passes he threw across the board. And so far, listen, I loved trading for Deshaun Watson. You had to go for it. They didn't have a good enough quarterback. But so far, it's been an absolute disaster.
Abject failure.
He was suspended 11 games. He's hurt, and who knows if he's going to be any good this whole season. When he's played, he's been awful. Outside of the Titans game, there's no debate. He has been absolutely horrendous. He's been as bad as any quarterback in the league. The Browns are getting, arguably, the worst quarterback play in the league, no matter who's played.
Well, I don't think it's arguably. I don't know who's played worse as a group.
I
don't.
Look at the
I
screen.
can't give you
Take a look at
anybody.
these tag boards. Dead last in the NFL in QBR,
Yeah.
passer rating, and completion percentage above expected.
You're not supposed to be 4-2 with those numbers.
You are
and
not.
And that tells you what kind of team the Browns have. And, in my opinion, I know this won't be a popular one, what kind of coach the Browns have.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, I know you are.
He held it together yesterday. Look, for as much fire as he's taken, Bull, you're right. I don't think they're 4-2 without Stefanski at the helm.
No, they're not.
I don't.
They're not. I've been telling you guys, and Bull's been telling you guys for years, he's a pretty good coach. Is he elite? Is he one of the top 3 to 5 coaches in the league? No, I'm not going to say that.
He's not going to be the reason you lose, though.
But I'm telling you, he's keeping them. Look at the quarterback, the list of quarterbacks that he's winning with since he got here. It's unbelievable. And what we said earlier about just the tenacity. We talked about that gut punch of a Jets game last year. A horrible way to lose a game. What'd they do? They came back 4 days later and they beat Pittsburgh. They lose a terrible game at Pittsburgh this year. What'd they do? They came back the next week and won again. So they do have that. Like, people want to make fun of him for his rah-rah post-game speeches, and, it's kind of awkward and whatever.
He's a cheese ball.
But these guys believe in him, man, and they're fighting for him. Whether it's him or each other, whatever, he is getting the most out of this roster. I don't think there's any debate about that at this point. For this team to be 4-2, you're down. You now lost Nick Chubb. You've lost his backup. You've lost Jerome Ford. We don't know yet how serious it is.
Right.
But you're down to Kareem Hunt, who was selling white walls 3 weeks ago and working out at Planet Fitness. He's now your starting tailback as of right now, until we know the severity of Jerome Ford.
And has 3 touchdowns.
And Pierre Strong is now your backup. Like, how are they doing this?
Not to mention their right tackle.
Yeah, they lost their right tackle as well.
Listen, I said last year on these same airwaves, I said, listen, you got 6 games. He's
4-2.
He's 4-2. What are you going to say about that? Listen, the results speak for themselves. As a matter of fact, you lost all those people and lost all those guys and individuals, and you found a way to win not only on the road, you found a way to win against one of the best teams. You made a really snap decision with the kicker. I believe that was a huge thing. The Cleveland Browns would have never cut Cade York in years past because they had money invested.
Sorry to cut you off, G, but thank God Cade York was terrible this preseason.
That missed extra point
against
in the last preseason game.
Thankfully,
it cost us 1 point in a preseason game, and look what it led to. Guys, what we're seeing, we've never seen before in the history of the NFL. Consider this. He's now made a fifth. His weakness was he's got no leg. Remember, he's 50% in his career over 50. This is a guy that went back into the lab.
Amazing.
He got his legs stronger. He worked on his accuracy. He's made a 50-yard field goal in 5 straight games now. It's never been done.
And he obviously we'll get more
Justin
into
Tucker hasn't done it.
Him later,
all of the great kickers. No one has done this.
It's amazing.
And guys, there's no question. We talked about without Stefanski, perhaps they're 2-4. Without this kicker, who knows where we are.
That just goes to show you, if you need to address something, don't wait for it to get bad and cost you games. Do it now. They made the change. He's won you some games. And hopefully, if you're listening, you'll do the same with the quarterback position.
Well, Jay, you said this, and I got to ask you about this. You said you'd shut down Watson for the year.
Yes.
You're done.
Done.
Would anyone else go that far from G,
No.
Jay, Jason? Would you go that
I'll
far?
tell you why after. Go ahead. G. Bush, would you shut him down for the year?
Before last game, I would have said no. I'm seriously considering it. I would.
Bull, would you?
I would.
I feel like I don't have enough information to say that.
Yeah.
I would, as a GM of the Browns, I would try to make a move for a quarterback, assuming he's going to miss the rest of the year. Yeah. That I would do, but I'd keep open the possibility. I do think it makes sense. I think you said it, G. Put him on IR, give him a month off, and let's see where he is then. But you have to address the position as if he might miss the rest of the season.
The reason I say it is you're currently looking at the first 2 years of this $230 million contract. Total. You might as well take in the $100 million, the $89 million, whatever it is, and just set it on fire. You got nothing out of it. Now all you can hope for is that you can maximize years 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah, I mean,
and if you misplay this the way they did with Baker, and you try to keep kicking the can down the road, he'll be healthy in 3 weeks. He'll be healthy in 3 weeks. Well, then what you run into is you're having surgery later in the year. Mm-hmm. You don't want that to happen. If Mikey, one of the texts I got from my surgeon, and I didn't have time to do it, was Google micro tear in the rotator cuff and see what the diagnosis is and what the injury is. He said he sees mostly athletes, but he said every once in a while I'll see a construction worker, or he says sometimes I'll see an older person in their 60s. Here's what I tell them: if you're in your 60s, you can heal. This will heal. You can't use your right arm. You can't lift anything. No over the head work, and if you're throwing anything, forget it. You're going to have this repaired at some point. So with that bit of advice, and I wanted to Google it and I wanted to get more information, I just didn't have time this morning. But from that, he's certainly not going to rest it. He's going to have to be throwing the football over the next couple of weeks. If that's the case, and that's going to prohibit this from ever healing naturally on its own, I think you got to get it fixed, and you got to salvage something out of that $230 million.
Jason, from being in the locker room, being around the guys, what's your impression of what their real plan might be for Watson?
Well, I think they're still trying to formulate it because yesterday was such an abject disaster. Now, I don't shut him down for the year because there's no quarterback you can go get that's going to allow you to reach the heights that you could with him. So, and even if you have to stretch this out, and I asked him point blank at his locker last week, there is no surgery on the horizon. He said, no, I don't need surgery. It's never been talked about. There's no surgery coming. Now, is that true? I don't know. Nothing else that's been said has been true up to this point.
No, they've missed it all.
I'm just telling you, there is no, from their vantage point, there's no surgery coming. But let's say for the sake of argument, there is some sort of procedure that has to be done. There's plenty of time from January to have any sort of procedure you need and be ready to go for training camp next year. I do think you need to sit him. You can't put him on IR if you want him back for Baltimore because that's only 3 weeks away in Baltimore.
Yeah, no.
IR is 4 weeks.
Right.
So you've already missed that window of putting him on IR. But I agree with G. I would sit him until Baltimore at the earliest. But I don't think that you shut him down for the year because I don't see the upside of that. He can still be healthy and recovered for next year, and you're all in right now to win this year.
Even when you bring him back, now he's got 2 months of rust. His confidence has to be at an all-time.
That's the thing. That's the confidence.
I felt if he was confident, he would have been on the sidelines telling Kevin Stefanski, I want in this game. I saw him with a coat on.
I got to tell you, if he's not confident, I got to question him a little bit about that.
Did he look confident to you at any point yesterday? Because I didn't see it.
I've never heard of a good quarterback not being confident.
But, Bull, did he look confident yesterday?
No, he did not.
No, it's shot.
Bernie told you that even if you are a good quarterback, you don't have confidence moving forward because you can't control where the ball's going. Like, that doesn't give you, like, if you're a pitcher, what's the worst thing that can happen?
If he couldn't,
you lose control.
If it was that bad, he shouldn't have played.
He's lost control.
If it was that bad, he shouldn't have played. He was on the field, and he
No,
played
you're
like
right
crap.
on that. No excuse.
That's
because
it.
we talked about it.
I don't make excuses.
You get no excuse for poor play yesterday.
No.
He threw 5 passes.
They were awful.
4 of them were incomplete. Or no, 2 of them were incomplete. 2 of them essentially were picked, although the box score said 1. Did you get any information on that? On what McNuggets? Did you see? Did you find anything at all on the micro tear?
Oh, I did. It's fascinating. I'm going to bring that to you.
Because he said he said do not take this injury lightly.
No, it's fascinating. I'm going to read you what I found in 1 sec. I want to remind the people, though, that if they are not already part of the FanDuel Sportsbook Network, right now is the perfect time to join FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in guaranteed bonus bets if you place a $5 bet. That's $5 to turn into $200, win or lose. They have player props, spreads, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to get in on all the action. Jay, I did a quick little research, and this is from the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Okay.
It comes from a .org, so it's
Reliable
not like a
source.
fake.com
Right,
or
that's a reliable
source.
source.
I'm going to read, quote, a piece from a FAQ about rotator cuff micro tears in the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons.
Right.
And I quote, even though most tears cannot heal on their own, you can achieve good function without surgery. If, however, you are active or use your arm for overhead work or sports,
exactly what he
surgery is most often required because many tears will not heal without surgery if under constant tension.
And that's exactly what
he's under constant tension.
So he said basically you have 2 options. Take a football out of his hand for the rest of the season, give him an MRI in January and see where it is, or speed up the clock and do the surgery right now.
Well, they've got the best doctors working with this guy, so something doesn't add up here.
No, but Bull, when you just take that at its face,
right?
And this is also
maybe he doesn't actually have a micro tear.
Well, he said he did.
He
I
did.
mean, we have to take him at his word, don't we?
Well, if he has a micro tear, and doctors are saying you can't play with a micro tear, then something's missing here.
Yes, you're right. Something is not lining up.
Yeah,
it hasn't from the start.
Hey,
Because
it hasn't been from day one.
I'm getting this from one of the top surgeons in the United States, who's been an orthopedic surgeon for the New York Giants.
Right.
The American Medical Orthopedic Surgeons frequently asked questions is, it can heal, but not if it's constantly under pressure and if you're throwing an object. Well, look, I give him credit for trying to be tough. Baker tried the same thing. It ended horribly for him.
He didn't try the same thing, to be fair.
He had a
but not on his throwing shoulder. That's a big difference.
They're completely different because he doesn't have to put that stress on it. However, it was clearly it ended his time here in Cleveland. It was a bad decision. Again, the Browns find themselves on Groundhog Day. The alarm clock went off, and you're told that your franchise quarterback has a pretty serious rotator cuff injury. What do you do this time around? Do you play it out and watch the losses pile up and bad quarterback play?
Nope.
Or do you this time try a different path?
Well,
and I know we're going to get into all week who's the savior.
Right.
I think it's possible they could get it done with someone currently on the roster.
No, I don't think that's possible.
I want to see DTR play a game in which he has a full week to prepare. I think the pop quiz they gave him a couple of weeks ago was not fair to him, particularly when you consider it was his first actual regular season action in the NFL. I know P.J. Walker's not it. I know that. And so before I go out and leverage resources and make a trade, we thought DTR was it not that long ago.
Not me.
The Browns clearly did. The Browns said, we're keeping you as our number 2, and we're getting rid of our backup quarterback, who, by the way, won again yesterday. So,
no, he didn't.
No, I'm going back all the way back to Jacoby Brissett. I wish they would have kept Jacoby Brissett. Now the talk is, now we got to get Jacoby Brissett back.
But what are you talking about? Who won yesterday?
Didn't Dobbs win yesterday in Arizona?
No.
Oh, I thought they won.
They lost by double digits.
No, they're awful, and he's been awful.
I just think you got – I know that a move is going to be hard to make.
Yeah.
Just give me DTR. I don't know that he can be worse than what we saw yesterday. I don't.
He was worse when he played.
But he didn't have the week's rep.
They split reps all week that week. DTR took the pass reps. Deshaun took the run reps. I think it's rash to cross him off the list off of one bad game. That's his first game. But they're in a position right now. They're in a really tough spot. And I wrote today, they should go get Jacoby Brissett.
Yes!
And I was the one saying all last year they punted the season because they handed it to Jacoby Brissett. Here's the difference.
What, with this defense?
Here's the difference for me right now.
Defense didn't play great yesterday.
Well, that doesn't matter. It was one game. But
it's not one game. It's 2 of the last 3.
But the Brissett thing makes sense because his base salary is $3 million, and we all know this always comes down to money. Everyone's screaming, "Go get Kirk Cousins, guys." Kirk Cousins makes $20 million this year. That's not happening. That's not realistic for their cap situation.
You don't get that off.
Jacoby Brissett has a $3 million base salary. They're responsible for the prorated amount of what's left on the season. It's about $2 million. That's about what Josh Dobbs was making before they traded him, was 1.5.
Yeah.
You could probably get, now Washington has to play ball on this, but I don't see why they want to hold on to him at this point. They're a disaster and they're not going anywhere. If they can save $3 million or save $2 million and get a draft pick back for him, you could probably get Brissett for about the pick that you got from Arizona for Dobbs. Mm-hmm. Now, Brissett is a placeholder and nothing more than that, but that's why I'm saying, excuse me, if you want to give Deshaun 3 weeks, Jacoby can give you 3 weeks. I don't know if Jacoby's the answer. If we're talking about
shutting down Watson for the year,
it doesn't matter.
Not the answer.
It doesn't matter. There's nobody out there to go get if you're shutting Watson down for the year. There's nobody out there.
Mike wants to save it for the week, and he's right. We should save it because there's a lot off the game. I would go after Kirk Cousins. I don't care about the money because it's just for 1 year. I don't care how it affects the cap. The owner's a billionaire. He keeps spending over the cap. It's not a hard cap, so it doesn't matter.
It will at some point.
Who cares? Who cares?
Listen, I take both of your arguments, and I like pieces and parts of it. Yeah. Saying it doesn't matter because if Deshaun's not there, we're not going to win is unacceptable.
That's right.
In business, in any part of life, we know this. We work for companies. When something goes wrong, you don't get to sit back and say, well, let's just roll it out because we're not going to be good anyway. No. Somebody at the top is going to say, listen, all hands on deck. What do we got to do? We got to offer overtime? Do we got to bring people in? We got to switch management? What we got to do? They need to get a quarterback in here because 4-2 dictates you have to. Sometimes I wish people would take football like baseball. If you are up at the trade deadline and you are in first place, it is a mandate in baseball that you go get some pieces to make your team better.
Yeah, we already had one team quit on the fans.
You 4-2 and you showed you can beat the best team in football. It is unacceptable to say, we're just going to hang out like DTR.
And they've done it with the worst quarterback play in the league. That's almost impossible to be 4-2 with the worst quarterback play in the league. And they've done it. Now give them some help.
Yeah.
But here's the other problem, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but there's leaks all over the dam right now. We talked about running back. The tackles are actually playing better.
Yes.
Like Jed looked okay again.
Yes.
yesterday.
The offensive line's played
turning
well the
yes.
last 2 weeks.
Yes.
So let's set that aside for right now. I know everyone keeps screaming about a receiver. I don't know how you can fairly evaluate the receivers
Can't.
because you've had terrible quarterback play.
Yeah. Right.
But it's running back and quarterback, and you have very limited trade assets.
I don't even
because-
think running back's that big a deal personally.
Well, I think it is.
I like Strong.
Well, if I got to hear more about Ford.
I don't care about
You know.
Ford. I think Pierre Strong could be as good as Ford.
Well, I don't think any of them. I mean, you're down to your third and fourth string running backs.
I mean, they ran for 160 and 150 yards on the ground 2 weeks.
I'm not worried about it.
That's
I got it. The running game's been fine.
160,
no, it
150.
hasn't been fine.
Yeah, I
it
wouldn't
has not
call
been
it fine
fine
either. I mean,
No?
No.
Ford obviously.
He had the one great run.
Yeah, and I
Other
know
than
that
that-
you can't take that out of the mix, but when you do,
Oh.
those numbers become bottom of the barrel.
Awful.
But why would you
Bottom of
take
barrel.
out the? It doesn't make any
It was
sense.
one. It was one play. It was a home run play. That's
Two home run plays.
I mean, he didn't do
Yes.
anything but run. He was untouched.
You talking about the Steelers game too? The Steelers run?
Yeah.
Okay. Outside, he's had 2 great runs in
Yeah.
5 games, 6 games, right? Well, 5. What's
Yeah,
he done the rest of the
He
time?
had about
He
84.
has 200 yards on 75 carries if you take out those 2 long runs, which is not fair because
Yeah,
they
and
both
that's why it's
happened.
not that big a deal. So I go get somebody else. I don't have to have. I don't need a superstar running back to win. We've been through this before.
I like Strong. I thought he ran well. I like he hits it up in there, and I think Kareem Hunt gets better every week. Now, granted, he's still working his way, and the blows that he's taking, he can only play about 2 or 3 plays in a row right
Kareem's
now.
averaging like 3 yards a carry.
But
You know what? I like him at the
but
goal line.
At the goal
At the
line,
goal- he's great.
He's
He
turning
gave you-
field goals into touchdowns.
he
and-
gave
and-
you 2 of the biggest plays you got.
Yes,
we got it in.
You're
That's who
absolutely
you,
right.
And I've said all year, I think Kareem's got 3 wheels left. I absolutely believe it. And those numbers back it up. But in a goal line situation like that, yeah, I want the ball in his hands if you need 1 yard.
Yeah, 'cause-
given the other options on this team right now,
And he
yeah,
doesn't
give it to
fumble.
Kareem Hunt.
And I'll be curious to see Pierre Strong this week if he gets a chance to play.
I like him.
because
like
I
Strong.
think he's a pretty good
Yeah,
player.
I've been saying I'd like to see more of him. I mean, we know he's got a very small sample size, but he's
Yeah.
also been able to hit the home run. You know, he was able to do that when he was in New England. I mean,
You can always find a serviceable back. That's a lot easier to find than a
yeah,
quarterback.
the quarterback is clearly the mountain that we don't know we can scale or not. Go ahead, Mike.
We'll move on to Kevin Stefanski in 1 sec, but just want to make sure we're all on the record with this. Are we all in agreement? And I believe we are, but just for the for transparency, PJ Walker is not it, right?
No.
Is anyone?
Although,
wanna
you know
make-
what? He does have an it factor when it comes down to those last drives of the game.
He made a big throw to Elijah Moore down the sideline on 3rd down.
Huge throw.
I'll give him credit for that.
And I'll tell you, guys, certainly Baker Mayfield didn't do that here. We
Baker
haven't
threw
seen
another
Deshaun
big pick
Watson do
yesterday.
that here. We have to see, and I'm not saying that this is why you stay with him, but I can see why the Browns think there's something there.
I don't think
But
they think
it's
there's
just
something
not
there.
enough.
I don't think the Browns think there's anything there.
He
They
was-
just have no other
Well,
better
then
option.
bench him and let me see
He was
DTR.
the best available in the
Yeah.
situation. He got bailed out. It was a bad sack fumble. He held on to the ball too long.
Oh.
The Colts should have had possession on that. The call was questionable at best, I think. I thought Amari pushed him down too. But that's beside the point. It was a non-factor in the play because that ball was
Had
never
nothing
going.
to do with the play.
So, but and again, like, hey, take it and run
Who
with
cares?
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
take it and run with it.
Yeah.
But
We've
as
been on
easily-
the other side of those calls
As
for a
easily
long
as we're
time.
saying, I said PJ made the great throw to Elijah Moore on 3rd down, and he did. And he's got that little bit of an it factor, whatever. Well, he also was sacked and fumbled and should have lost him the game and was bailed out on a call there.
know.
So,
And Colts,
PJ Walker.
I
ain't
ain't
the
gonna lie,
answer.
dog. Hey, Colts, man.
2-0.
Colts, they got y'all a little bit.
Oh, who cares?
You know, that
They got you a little bit, dog.
I know how the
they
Colts
got
felt.
y'all. They got y'all a little bit,
How
dog. I ain't
many
gonna
times
lie.
have we lost that game?
Oh, since
Countless.
Every
Hundreds.
year.
That same game where calls
Yeah,
went
I
against
mean-
us and we're like, what?
Browns fans would lose their minds on that PI call
Are
if
you
it
serious?
went the other
Oh,
way.
yeah.
It was
Oh, it
not
was a
even
bad
close.
call.
It was not even close.
I mean, it was a bad call.
Yeah.
And by the way, I always criticize everybody for being prisoner of the moment. I was a little prisoner of the moment last week when I said the Colts weren't any good because they had gotten smoked by the Jags the week before. But they had played well in every other game this year before that Jag game. And I thought the Colts played pretty well. I mean,
That win
considering
against
that-
the Ravens looks even more impressive
Yeah,
now
yeah,
after
yeah.
what Baltimore did yesterday.
I mean, they were good. And Jonathan Taylor looked the best he looked all year.
They
he's
had a-
rounding into form.
You know, he played
Had
well.
a-
He had some not really nice moves.
they had a really good game plan. They mixed in the running backs. They Gardner Minshew was
He
doing
made some plays.
They had the read option. He was scrambling, extending plays, and he made big plays on 3rd down.
Yeah,
It's
defense or
crazy.
coaching now, Mike?
we're
We
doing
got
Stefanski now. And
Stefanski.
so we talked about it a little bit. He talked about his decision that he was the one that decided Deshaun wasn't going back in the game. And I think that I just wanted the adult to make the decision. And I think that's what we saw yesterday, because we've seen too many times where the player says, no, I'm playing, I'm John Wayne, and that doesn't end well. So I give him a lot of points for that. I also give him a lot of points for holding this team together. If we're going to kill him and batter him when the team ripped at the seams, guys, there were moments yesterday where that defense looked like last year's defense. The big plays, the poor tackles, the blown assignments. I did not recognize what I saw yesterday. Yet somehow, Stefanski held that whole thing together, and they come out with a victory. Where are we right now on Stefanski's job just in this season alone? He's 4-2. He's won back-to-back games. I mean, I know you've been his biggest critic, G, but
G was screaming to fire him.
G and I were going to go to war.
Yeah,
I saw the start. I went back when I was driving home last night. I watched the restream. And he's screaming, "Fire him!
Fire him!
Fire him!"
Now, to his credit, Niners make a field goal and we don't get a pass interference call, and
What we could say the same thing on
you're right.
Same thing with the Steelers game on the opposite
We are
way.
as close as a 4-2 team has ever been to being 2-4.
Absolutely.
So everybody, real
Yes.
quick, let's give G the runway, because this is a big moment in UCSS history. G, Steve, let's get G a one shot. G, the floor is yours, my friend.
I mean, you know what? Actually, to be truthful, this is a history. I'm always willing to say when you get new information or you revisit things, you are always supposed to amend your opinion. See, I don't like doubling down on negative money. That's just don't work. So I went, McNuggets. We was on the post game show, and the fourth down, not the fourth down, but when they're on the goal line.
The sequence at the goal line.
The sequence at the goal line. So when we're watching the show or whatever, you're looking at the camera, but then you're looking at your TV, but you're looking back, and the McNuggets is 30 seconds ahead of us. So there's a lot of stuff going on. The sequence that he was going through, I was like, oh, no, they can't do this. What are you doing? Where are you running the ball? Why are you not running the ball?
Well, he had no timeouts.
So then, when you look at it, they didn't have any timeouts during that circumstance. And then he runs the shovel pass. And at the time, I'm looking at it, I'm like, why is he running this shovel pass? And I'm looking at it in a vacuum. I go back and I watch it. Me and McNuggets was arguing. So you go back to that sequence, and McNuggets was right. You got about 22 seconds, right?
You had 33. It's first and goal at the one with 33 seconds.
33 seconds. If you run the ball there, you might get 2 plays because they're going to lay on you. They're not going to let you up.
You will get 2. You'll definitely get 2.
But
you can't sub.
And so that means you're going to have to run the ball twice.
Yeah.
So you get 2 runs compared to 4 plays, which is three passes and 1 run because they were incomplete. So hindsight 2020, going back looking at it, he did the right thing in passing the ball 3 times because he always knew that he had to run in his back pocket and he was going to run on the goal line with no timeouts. So hindsight 2020, McNuggets was right. He did run the right sequence. However, you can gauge. Some people will say, if you're purist, I'd rather take 2 runs with Kareem Hunt over P.J. Walker throwing the ball 3 times because he's always on the verge of throwing a pick. But I understand where Kevin Stefanski went. I would agree that was the right sequence of
And
plays.
Wyatt Teller was on your side in the moment. Wyatt always wants to run the ball. It could be 3rd and 18. Run it behind me. I'll get you 19.
Linemen always want to. We go. Don't overthink it. Let's run.
And Wyatt was joking with us yesterday after the game. He's like, I ran to the sideline after first down. He's like, let's run this B. And they said,
say it. We're on YouTube. You can say it.
let's run this bitch. And they said, we don't have any timeouts. And he goes, all right, never mind. Let's throw it.
Yo, he did it. He got it in. And Kareem Hunt got that boy by this much and only this much. So I'll give him credit for that. So see, guys, this is for all you up and coming hosts out there. Always remember, when you get new information, always revisit it. Just because you have to correct something don't mean you're still not the leader of the Kool-Aid Mafia.
You can still say you were wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're still the leader. We're not going to take that from you.
Yeah.
It's funny. The way he played it is the way you have to play it.
Yep.
The Colts knew what was going to happen. The Colts knew he was going to throw on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down, and they knew that he was likely going to run it on 4th down. And what's crazy is I flash back to the Ohio State-Notre Dame game. It was that close.
Yeah.
It came down
It was
literally
the nose of the football.
to the last play of the game. You win or you lose. They know what you're going to do. You know what you're going to do. And I got to tell you, I was in that moment. I was confident that Kareem Hunt was going to get that yard. I felt very comfortable with it. There was something that I had a calm about it, saying he runs hard enough. He's the guy I want on this carry in this moment, and he got it by an inch.
Well, it shouldn't have gone to fourth down. Yeah. The shovel pass was actually a great call. And live, I thought, oh, my God, what are they doing? Then I saw the replay.
Yeah.
It was a great call. He just threw a four-seam fastball right at his head.
If he caught it and was tackled before he gets in, that might be it.
Well, but if he catches it, he's in.
There were a lot of people in that area.
I'd have to go. I thought if he catches it, that's 6.
Jason,
I'm pretty sure he was falling backwards into the end zone.
It just goes to show you that when you got P.J. Walker, there was a huge fourth down play where they pitch it out to Jerome Ford.
Oh, my God.
And he throws a 90-seam. Like, he just was like.
That would have been a huge gain, by the way. It was the right call.
And I was why?
Yeah.
Get some touch on that.
And by the way, I feel like I would have a 50-50 shot of making that pitch.
It was like sunshine, and remember the Titans.
Yeah.
See the pitch, make the pitch.
Yeah.
By the way, in terms of Stefanski, when you do anything, you get better the more you do it, in most cases, right? That's fair, no matter what you do.
Yes.
Right? Coaches get better as time goes by. Is the reason Mike Tomlin and Andy Reid and Belichick, is it the reason they're such good coach? Do they have their jobs for that long because they're good coaches? Yeah, but part of the reason they became such good coaches
I know where
is
you're going.
because they got their job for so long.
You're exactly right.
I've said this a million times. I'll say it again. At this point, there's only a few difference-maker coaches. A few, very few. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is one of them. But I think outside of the top 4 or 5, wherever you want to draw the line, he's as good as anybody else. He's going to have good days. He's going to have bad days. And he's going to get better the longer he goes.
Well, to say he's as good as anybody else, you're saying he's the best coach in the NFL.
No, he
after
said
that
outside.
top,
after. Okay.
After that top group of whatever, 4 or 5 coaches. I just think it's like there's 20 coaches, 20-something coaches in the middle here, and they're going to go up and down based on the year, based on their personnel, based on whatever, other things around them and other elements. I think by and large, Kevin Stefanski has done a very good job as head coach of the Browns. That doesn't make him perfect. He's made some bad mistakes. He's had to, we've talked about, he didn't handle this situation right. And yes, in terms of talking and having a clear message, there have been flaws there, no doubt about it. But with this bumbling franchise and this bumbling owner, he's had to put up with so much nonsense that he's been able to overcome. Not to mention crazy, look at what's happened to quarterback. They haven't had consistently good quarterback play since Baker. I'll give him his credit. Second half of 2020, he played very well, right? That's it. In his entire time here, Kevin Stefanski has got a half a season of consistent quarterback play. Now, some could argue, isn't that his fault? He should, get more out of these guys. Well, I would argue he has. Overall, Baker's played his most consistent football in 2020 with Stefanski. Jacoby Brissett, who's not very good and has never been very good, played his best football with him. Only Deshaun Watson is the only one that hasn't played his best football.
And that's a head-scratcher because he's by far the most talented one.
Yeah, but there's a lot that goes into the Deshaun Watson story. We all know that. I agree
with a lot that goes in, but he's got a ball of clay to work with there.
I was glad that Kevin explained that fourth down sequence because a lot of times he doesn't give you very much from the podium.
Yeah.
And I thought the way he laid it out, because a lot of people, probably felt like you did. What are you doing? Why are you not running the ball there? And for him to say, listen, there was a method of the madness with guys if you run it and you don't get in on first down, now the Colts are laying on guys. They're slow to get up. You're going to have a hard time getting the line. You can't sub in personnel packages. I wish that more often because 99 times out of 100, the decisions that he makes are very well thought out on the back end. He just doesn't always explain them as well as I think he should. But there's a lot of thought that goes into a lot of the decisions that he makes. And we can go back to the pitch play, and we can go back to the shovel pass. These things are open. They just don't have the personnel. As simple as it sounds, a quarterback pitch, P.J. Walker blew it. A little shovel pass to Njoku at the goal line. P.J. Walker blew it. So these are not complicated things that you're asking your quarterback to do. It's just the quarterback play has been so bad this year.
Yeah.
They can't even get average out of it. If they haven't even, if they're probably begging for Baker play right now. If they could get back to the Baker level, it'd be 5-1.
If you had a mediocre quarterback right now,
yeah, you're 5-1.
Absolutely,
easy.
They just need a quarterback. They need a quarterback that's not going to turn the ball over.
Yeah.
That's part of it. But, and then Baker's not the answer there. But they need a quarterback that's going to be efficient and not turn the ball over. Really, that's all they need.
I know,
right
but
now.
Bull, they've turned it over a lot. And minus yesterday's game, they'd lost the turnover in all the games prior to that, yet they were still 3-2.
It's just not sustainable, though.
Right.
If the defense can play, the defense is another question. We got to talk
to
about the defense a lot, because what I thought I had figured out about this defense flew out the window
Because
yesterday.
you can't figure anything out about anything.
You can't.
The NFL is up and down every week.
It's unreal how I saw guys missing assignments. I saw poor tackling. I saw guys overcommitting. It was and I don't know, guys, is this an aberration? Is this what?
Well, we'll get to it in a sec.
Yeah.
But in terms of Stefanski, I agree. And listen, I didn't agree. For those who say he always, by the way, for those who say he always goes with the analytics, he follows the numbers, we were arguing about that punt that he had at the 40-yard line. Mm-hmm. And obviously, I didn't like the idea of punting. It completely worked out. Stefanski punted. That was against the analytics. And yet it completely worked out.
I know, but what I said in our text chain last night is why I dislike going by a book. Because
he didn't go by the book.
And he made the right call, and I'll argue why
I
it was the right
disagree,
call.
but whatever. I'm not going to.
Well, here's why he made the right call. There's two data sets. One of them is the history coming into that game. That's analytics. What he used yesterday is the proper use of gut, analytics, and eyes. He used yesterday what was going on in that game. And that's the big thing that teams don't use. You can't punt in minus territory.
It wasn't minus territory. They were at the
No, they weren't.
Yes, they were.
Where was that punt? Where was that from?
They were on Indy's like 46 or 45.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was in my memory it was either at midfield or in minus. Either way,
They were just past midfield.
I'm
just
still
past.
not doing it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Because I know what the book said, and they even made a point. Well, analytics play is that you go for it. I get that. But I love the decision he made. Pin them deep in their territory and let your guys on defense make a play or make a stand at that. Because you know and I know the playbook is wide open if you get the ball at midfield. If you get the ball on your 1 or 2 yard line, you're down to a limited number of plays.
I hear you.
And you can make something big happen, which they did.
And I don't want to debate whether it was the right call or not. It worked out, and that's all that matters in the end. And then later in the game, he went for it on a fourth down. That was shorter. It was
right.
It was like a 4th and 1 instead of a 4th and 3 or 4th and 4. But he is like. Again, you talk about, well, you can't always use the book. There's some coaches that always use the book. Yeah, there's also some coaches that don't use the book at all, and they're just as stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to have the balance.
It's got to be a blend.
And he showed you that balance last year.
And I love
when he followed the book, if you will, one time and didn't follow the book the other.
Also, what made the punt work out was Shane Steichen made a rookie mistake. You're backed up at your own 11 with a backup quarterback, and you come out throwing the ball with a minute 46.
Very
yeah,
stupid.
I know.
They should have just run it, taken it to the half. Indy gets the ball to start the second half. The Colts gifted the Browns 10 points at the end of the half.
Yeah, huge mistake.
With what turned into Myles' strip sack touchdown in the end zone. I thought that was really poor play calling by Shane Steichen.
Yeah, we before we get to the defense, let's go. You want to do the read first?
Yeah, I got one more read. We'll talk a little defense. If you missed it, we alluded to it earlier. The 2-minute warning post-game UCSS show. Live, dramatic. It does not get better than we've had the last 2 weeks with the San Francisco missed field goal, the Browns punching in with 15 seconds left. You can see live reaction. You can see G's initial take, which he has now walked back on about Kevin Stefanski in the moment, in the heat, on our YouTube channel. Over 30,000 views already. We appreciate everybody who tuned in and watched. If you haven't, it's on the YouTube page. You go back, check it. Bull actually hopped in at the very end of it.
I hopped in at the end, and these guys, it was so funny because Earl, last year when we did it, my TV was ahead of everybody else's.
Yeah.
This year, Mike's TV is ahead of G's and Earl's for some reason, depending on how you get your games. Mm-hmm. And so Mike was like basically doing play-by-play, and Earl and G were losing their mind because they didn't want to know before they saw
It's crazy. We looking up, it's behind. You're like, oh, no, it was crazy.
Unfortunately, there's no better way to do it because I can't pretend I don't know what's happening to let them go.
You
and
could
the chat's
pause
ahead
your
of us.
TV and then sync it up with theirs.
But the chat's ahead. So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
Don't look at
everyone's
the chat.
watching at different things. And then also, if it's a home game, I could see the Jumbotron from my apartment. So I'm watching the game on the
Yeah.
Jumbotron. I knew they missed
Well,
the
this
game.
All these
wasn't a
are
home
things
game.
that you don't have to look at.
You're
kinda
going to tell
hard.
me if I know there's going to be a game-winning kick and I'm watching it from my apartment.
You're going to find out in 3 seconds with everybody else on the show live in real time.
I thought it
Earl
was
and G aren't
funny.
synced up
I
either.
would, you know what? I couldn't watch the game like that. I couldn't. There's been times where normally when Corey and I are FaceTiming, normally I'm ahead of him. But he's on the road. He's in Atlanta on a recruiting trip, and he was ahead of me. Can't do it.
Yeah, that
Talk to you after the game, kid. No, I'm not finding out. I'm not
Listen.
finding out the results of a game-changing play from McNuggets cheering or going
It
crazy.
is what it is.
and we
If
do
it's
that
not
every
me, it's the
week.
chat.
Pause it. Pause it
If
and
it's
time
not
it
me, it's
up.
the
Nah,
chat.
I say keep doing what you're doing.
No, it's
man.
bad
I love
TV.
it.
It's better if you guys all find out in the moment.
Oh, my
You're
God.
spoiling it for them.
It hurt.
Where was this concern last year for 18 weeks when Bull was 2 minutes
I was
ahead of
doing
us
it.
then?
We didn't
Bull-
talk about it last week.
Bull was
last
yes, we
playing the
did.
hell out of us.
Pause it. Pause it.
Bull was like 7. Bull had it before the actual stadium had it. Like, I was watching the
Bull had
stadium,
it.
and
Can you
Bull
give me
had
the
it
lottery
before
numbers
time,
before they're
I
picked?
wish. I'd be very rich right now, Mike, if that were the case.
Yeah, you got to sync them up. It's easy to do.
Yeah.
It's
You just
easy to
sync
do,
it
but
up.
then
But
we
the
have
post
thousands
game
of
was
people in
great. The
chat
reaction was
are
great.
watching,
I
yeah.
mean, G like losing his mind. Fire him! You got to fire him. I mean, I was laughing my ass off.
I'm like,
watching
I
this.
said, if they do not score, that's the only thing that kept going in my mind. If they gifted you the ball on the 1 yard line,
Yeah, and you don't
you
get
got
in.
4 plays and you don't get in, bye. I can't do it. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Now I will say,
That's the heart.
I give everybody a little leeway. We can't be held responsible for things we say in the moment.
No, it was funny.
We can't be.
Because I'm
Because if
freaking
that's
out.
the case,
I'm
we'd be on our
freaking out.
755th coach,
Oh, my
our
God.
1,000th quarterback, because it's,
well, and
it's emotion.
we'd all be fired.
And take,
Yes.
Those are
take
things
my
we
Twitter.
probably
My
say.
Twitter feed is the most toxic feed in the world during the game. But people watch it, they be like, man, this dude, his knees is going crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, he's like, bro, you going crazy after every play. I said, that's what I do. You doing the same thing. I'm just happy to be on Twitter doing it.
We need to get you some knee braces.
Yeah, oh,
The big ones.
the offensive
offensive line ones.
Hey, listen, I
get
got
like
the
the-
polio braces down there.
You need
Look
like
Keep them stiff.
right?
Gee, you need like the Forrest Gump as a kid knee brace.
Oh, man, them joints right there, boy.
All right, I'm just going to ask it because
Yeah,
I don't think
let's do it.
anybody. Myles Garrett is the defensive MVP this year, right?
I mean, as of now, we got a long way to
he
go.
is the front runner. He's the leader.
Wait, but here's the question,
right now,
Jay.
right?
Can we get you flipped back on to Myles Garrett?
I've never been flipped off Myles Garrett.
No. I know.
Here's what I've
But
always
you had
said.
T.J. Watt ahead of him.
Yes.
Yeah.
And here's what I've always said. I see it out of T.J. Watt. I see it out of Aaron Donald. I need Myles Garrett to be great when it matters most. I need him to. I don't want a sack in a 27-3 game with 2 minutes to go and then a
Yeah.
pose. I don't need that. It just does nothing for me.
Yeah.
I want impact plays, and that was exactly the guys.
So you got him back on top.
Here's why.
Back on top.
Because I
Yeah.
know he can do it.
He was amazing.
I know he's that good. Yesterday, and I'm not going to say it's the first time in his career, but more than any game that this guy has played for the Cleveland Browns, yesterday he told the entire team, hop on, boys, I'm taking you to the victory. Where would we be without Myles Garrett in that game?
Man, this
Just
dude-
look at it. We won by a point. He blocked the field goal.
Yeah.
And not just blocked it, he blocked it in superhuman. I think he had
Look
a
at that.
tape on when he did that.
Look at that. With 2 sacks today, Myles Garrett, 82 career sacks, turns 28 this season, surpassed Reggie White for most sacks by a player prior to his 28th birthday since 82 when the stat sack became official. By the way,
No one had that many before either.
we
yeah, let's put that
they
in
have-
context.
That needs to be said.
They-
Deacon
on-
Jones was great, but he
but
wasn't that
he-
great.
he
on
had
Pro
90.
Football Reference, they've been going back looking at game logs.
I heard someone was doing that. I didn't know it was Pro Football
And
Reference.
supposedly, I can't remember who it is now, that Michael Strahan doesn't have. Somebody had like 23 sacks one year. I can't remember who it
I
is.
can't believe that because they didn't throw the ball that much.
That's why I would say there's no way anybody had 82
Yeah.
before
No.
they were 28.
I can't imagine. No, I mean, what
They
he's
didn't
doing
throw
is.
the ball that much, and really, you didn't see exotic blitzes like you see now. I mean, the sack game is different now, obviously.
Myles Garrett is being allowed to do freaky things, and for once, the coaching staff has come around to the fact that Nobody's physically better than him.
Not just that, they're
Not even
encouraging
close.
him
Like
to
jump
do
over other humans, things like that.
Come on over here, Miles, on block team. Jump over this dude and block this punt real quick. Not to mention, he was very impressive in the run game. That one tackle for loss, they need to look at that because I counted 3 tackles for losses just in the run game yesterday. 2 strip sacks. The touchdown he caused. The dude.
He almost caused an interception. He batted the ball straight up in the air, Tomlinson never saw it.
He had the pass breakup.
It fell right in front of him.
Man, this guy is playing at an all-time. I mean, it's crazy.
I think he's the first player ever, right, to have 2 strip sacks and a block kick in the same game.
That's just.
I
nuts.
think that's never. Yeah, here. Since at least 91.
Yeah,
2
we're
plus sacks, 2
seeing
plus
things,
4 fumbles. 2 plus 4 fumbles and a block field goal in the same game. Yeah, I mean he's the best defensive player.
And even if your defense, that's why I'm slow to criticize. Even if the defense didn't play well, you still got that guy.
Oh no, they didn't play well.
Even if defense didn't play well, you still won the game because of defense.
Because of him.
Because of Myles Garrett.
Yeah. Well, him and Hopkins, yes.
On that,
they're the
Yeah,
MVPs right now.
Yeah.
on that block, I was talking to him at his locker, and he said it was something they saw in film that the Colts were slow to rise, basically. And
On field goal.
Yeah, and he knew he could get
You
over
know how
him.
risky that is? If one of the linemen stands up and hits him at the apex of his jump, he's falling about 12 feet.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because he's going to get propelled up in the air.
He could injure himself.
And God
He could've
knows
landed on
what.
his head.
I think that's a one-off, guys. I don't think he can do that
No.
ever again.
Well, they'll be aware now because
Sure,
he said
and that's why he can never do it
He
again.
told me the Colts were calling it out the rest of the game after that.
I bet.
So
Now, and what's
that's
the
a
name?
one-shot.
You got one chance to
in
get that
college,
right.
You can't do that, right?
No, you just can't.
touch
jump
your
off somebody
players.
else. You can't.
You can't leapfrog.
You can't launch yourself off somebody else.
I thought you could get a running start and just jump over but they won't let you jump over like the center when the ball
I don't know if
snaps.
that's a rule in college or not. I know the rule in the NFL is you can't use an assist from one of your guys.
Right.
Because
None of
I remember,
these.
no, listen, when I was in college, I was joking around with somebody. I'm like, man, I'm telling you, if I was on punt or on special teams, I literally would have 2 guys stand here and clasp hands, and I'd have somebody get a running start, hit that, and throw him up. He's going to block every kick.
That's crazy.
Guys, can we just take a moment to think about the fact that a 6'4", 275-pound human being had the athletic ability to leapfrog offensive linemen? I don't care that they were
and
bent
time
over.
it out.
And time it out perfectly.
No, even more impressively, he did it from a defensive stance.
I know he did.
He wasn't standing. It wasn't a running start. That was from a defensive stance.
It's unbelievable.
3 points on the ground.
I don't know that there's
Over an
another
offensive
player
lineman.
It is
No.
that
correct.
could ever. I mean,
No.
could what's his name with the Cowboys make that
Micah
play?
Parsons.
Michael
I don't think so.
Parsons.
I
He
don't
probably
think so.
could.
Maybe.
I don't think he could.
That'd be the only other guy I can
know,
see in
man.
the league.
There's a lot of people who jump 40-inch verticals. Now,
Not a lot of
it's-
6'4", 275 guys.
From a three-point stance.
Well, in reality, you don't need to be that big. It's a hindrance that you're that big.
Yes.
The fact that he
that's
can
what we're
do
saying.
it
That's
at
what I'm
that
saying.
size
Yeah, it's
is
absurd.
absolutely defies what we know about athleticism.
So basically,
That's why I want him on offense, by the way.
you can't.
I said that before the season.
It was
Let's
last year.
go,
I
man.
don't know why he's not on offense. I really don't. You're telling me that if you had 4 cracks at it, now I know they had to throw the ball yesterday, but I like our chances with Myles Garrett in the backfield to get that yard.
In the playoffs.
He may jump
save
the
that
hell
for the
over
playoffs.
everybody and
They've
get
got to
there.
be working on that for the playoffs.
It is a foul. I
hope
was
so.
correct. It is a foul. They said if it's a foul if a defensive player moves forward and tries to block a field goal by leaving his feet and leaping into the plane directly above the frame of the body of an opponent. That's in college. So you can't do it in college, but obviously it's the pros. I didn't know that the rule was different.
Maybe they'll change it.
But-
Like they're going to change the push play for
They
Philly.
shouldn't change that. Other teams could do it. They don't do it as well.
I agree they shouldn't,
Yeah.
but it's going to be changed.
I hope not.
Because it's a cheat code. Because you got a quarterback that squats 600 pounds or whatever it is.
What, there are
Like,
other strong quarterbacks?
Not that
I mean,
strong.
come on.
Not that strong.
I mean, it's a rugby scrum.
That's ridiculous.
Anyway,
They're 100% on that. I don't think they've been stopped all year.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Speaking of trick plays and a little tease for tomorrow, we have Jay Gruden, who we taped an interview with this
Oh, how was
Saturday.
that?
Phenomenal.
He was great.
Jason and Bull came in with really insightful stuff.
Great.
And he talked about
Where is he now? USFL or something?
No, he's
Or, I mean,
he was his last coaching stint was actually with Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. He was the OC on that team, and now he's doing some gambling, some
Can't start
analysis stuff
everybody.
on the side.
Got it.
But essentially, he drew up a trick play, and I'm not going to give it away. You have to watch tomorrow.
Okay.
The trick play that if Myles Garrett was involved, just game over.
Yeah.
Like there are ways. There has to be ways.
Can we get that over to the Browns?
Yeah, actually, when they hear it, we should forward.
Stefanski loves trick plays. I'm sure he's.
And you know what?
mauled it.
A lot of the. I think he had some success with trick plays yesterday.
Goodwin had a nice
The
little
Goodwin run.
Yeah.
Was a,
Run.
was
Well,
that worked.
Yep.
And there was another one that in the moment I thought that's a pretty good
There
play.
was another one I thought with Elijah Moore, who played his best game yesterday, Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
By the way.
What do you have?
What do you do?
4 catches?
4 for 54.
I mean, how many you want him to have? You keep saying that as if it's his fault.
Listen.
You have the worst quarterback in the league.
I'm judging by what I was told before this season
I
is going
know
to
that,
change my
and
life.
I laughed at those people.
I
but
need 8 for 100.
considering the quarterback threw one good pass the whole game, I thought he was a factor in the game.
He had some decent throws in there. He was 50%. He was just under 50%.
That's horrible.
It is. It's horrible, but that means he threw 14 completions.
That
His
doesn't mean
best
they were all
throw of the
good
day
throws.
Was to Elijah Moore on that last drive.
And
By
it
the
was
way-
the biggest,
Best throw of
too.
the day.
It was the biggest.
But-
That's why I said there's something to this guy. I don't
No.
want him for the first
There's
3
nothing
quarters.
to him.
There's nothing
12
to him.
minutes.
I do have a question.
But he looked good when
By
he
the way,
needed
can
to
I
look good.
off topic for a second?
Can't take it away.
I ain't playing with
He doesn't make that throw. That's an L.
There's nothing to him.
Off topic for a second. It's normally like freezing in here, which I love. Does it feel like 1,000 degrees in the studio today?
No.
Or am I crazy?
He's got a leather jacket on.
Hey man, you gotta
No?
you
It's
just
like-
gotta
I
be.
feel like the heat is
you
really
gotta be
pumping in
cool,
right
boo.
now.
You can't
No?
be moving your top body like that. You be doing a lot of hand gestures, boo.
Jay, question for
Get
you real
myself
quick. Then we're going
tired.
to talk about Dustin Hopkins, then we're going
Yeah.
to get to the rest of the stuff. But defensively speaking, Myles Garrett obviously was phenomenal yesterday. The rest of the defense, not up to par with what we've seen through the first 5 weeks. Do you look at what happened against Indianapolis as an anomaly, some sort of blueprint on how to attack this Jim Schwartz-style defense, or just a blip in the radar for a team that finally returned to more of the median as opposed to their superhuman status?
We talked about it Friday that it was a trap game. I think it 100% played out that way. I think the Browns read a lot of articles about their performance against the 49ers. They came in with a obviously false sense of bravado and confidence. I hope this is an eye-opener and that we start to see more of the first four out of 5 games defensively that we had from this team. But it wasn't I'm not ready to say that's who this defense is.
Of
so
course
on that,
it's not.
an anomaly.
The Browns are a very good defense. They've been a very good defense. This idea that they were going to be the 85 Bears was ludicrous and remains ludicrous. Okay? I just said last week there's going to be up and down games. The Browns have I still think the Browns, despite yesterday, have the best defense in football. I just never bought that it was an all-time great defense.
I think
still
statistically they still are number one.
I don't care. They're not. The Bears had 6 freaking
No.
Hall of Famers.
Number one in the NFL this year.
Based on what?
On statistics. I think yards allowed.
I don't care about yards allowed.
They're first in yards allowed. They fell to 10th in points allowed.
Right. Well, you give up 38, that's going to happen.
Yeah, listen. The Browns have a
gonna
really
happen.
good defense. There's a handful of teams that have really good defenses. The Browns can't win on defense alone. They're not going to consistently be able to do it. Let's be realistic about it. It's a really good defense. I don't think they're clearly not as bad. They played poorly yesterday. It was weird. The missed assignments that we saw last year, the bad
tackles.
The Greg Newsome tackle on the
Oh,
long
my God.
touchdown was ridiculous. Josh Downs killed him early in the game. And, it's not like the Colts have superstar wide receivers.
But
Pittman's really good.
You still
but
have to take into account what they did to the 49ers. I mean, they're both. They're somewhere in the middle. They're not as good as they played against the 49ers, and I don't think they're as bad as they played against the Colts. But I will say, I watched the Vikings-Eagles game last night. And
Eagles.
Eagles-Dolphins.
Dolphins, yeah.
And the one thing that jumped out at me when the game was over, I think my biggest takeaway was, again, we talked about how great defense can trump a great offense. The Eagles took the number 1 rated offense, and it wasn't even close. The difference between the Dolphins' offense and everybody else was a canyon, and they beat them with great defense. They shut them down, and they did it with great defense.
but the Eagles just lost the week before. You can't make a huge selling point based on one game.
They shut down an offense that even when I think the Bills allowed 20 to the Dolphins. The Bills shut them down with defense too, but also just scored like it was going crazy.
It's not all or nothing. Like you know, I don't believe the Browns came in there and were cocky or whatever the case may be. The Colts, like these guys get paid too. Like Gardner Minshew, like, that's why I said when you ask who you want, Anthony Richardson or Gardner Minshew playing, this is why I'm always an advocate of going to get you a veteran. He may not be the greatest guy in the world, but guess what? He's not going to do certain things a rookie will do. He has some savvy, some moxie. He can get out and move his legs. Like, he finds ways to win because he's a savvy backup. The thing that I'm looking at for the Browns, they had poor tackling, right? But it ebbs and flows from playing defense. Like, we were tackling well, right? We were shutting people down. We got 4 turnovers this game, right? So, I mean, you take the good with the bad. You can either say, we're going to shut them down, ain't nobody getting no points, or you want the turnovers. Sometimes turnovers come with stuff. So, for me, you're not going to play every game where you're going to shut everybody out. These guys are professionals. They had a really good running game. I like their game plan. But here's the thing. You know that the Browns can turn it up. You know where the Browns' A game is, right? So we now know where the Browns' C game is. This is what it looks like when you got a C game.
What's funny is they gave up 38 points and took the ball away 4 times.
It's the way it bounced like that.
But a lot of weird things about this season so far.
That's why you lose.
Not a lot makes sense.
That's
the bottom line is they're 4-2.
A lot of people lose their houses. That's why the NFL.
I know I've been red hot in my picks through 6 weeks. Yesterday I crapped the bed, went 1-4.
What were you yesterday?
I went 1-4.
Yeah. This was a weird week. There were some weird results. I didn't see Detroit absolutely rolling over.
Demolished.
I thought Baltimore would win. I didn't think they'd do that to them.
Same thing in fantasy. This was some weird fantasy results. I'm like, what?
By the way, there's a guy. The guy I'm in my big money league. I'm in second place. The guy who's in first place played the worst team in the league, and this is a keeper league. So the worst teams are really bad because they trade for next year and draft picks. So the guy who was in first place must have been. I think he was it's a high scoring league, so he was like a 90-point favorite.
Wow.
And he lost by 1 point. The guy who won started Deshaun Watson. He got negative points.
Yeah, I started Deshaun Watson -3. Listen, he's up out of here. I got about 3 more dudes I'm going to have to pull off the roster. No more for me.
Yikes. Awful. All right, you want to do the read now, Mike?
Yeah, we're going to talk Dustin Hopkins in 1 second. And if you had bet on FanDuel, Dustin Hopkins over 2.5 field goals yesterday, you would have won a lot of money because that man was absolute money. You can snap in on all the NFL action this season with FanDuel. It is America's #1 sportsbook, also the #1 sportsbook of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Right now, brand new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's 200 bonus bets. Win or lose. Place 5, win 200. It's simple math, people. Take advantage of it. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's literally no better time to get on the action than right now. It's easy to use. There's a wide range of options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. You can visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. We showed you a winning ticket earlier in the show. A $6 bet turned into $70 on a same-game parlay on Ohio State. We're posting one of those today on our Twitter page, so make sure you guys check it out. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Guys, Dustin Hopkins, no words. Shows up to work. His weakness was he can't kick 50-yarders, and now he has the NFL record for most consecutive games with a 50-yard make.
Much to your dismay, I picked him up on fantasy.
I did too.
You might beat me because of Dustin Hopkins alone.
24 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got them Dustin Hopkins points.
Dustin Hopkins had been 50% from 50-plus yards coming into this year. And I and many others were screaming, got to get Robbie Gould. What are we doing with Dustin Hopkins? Fine, better than the guy you got.
Yep.
But you got to get Robbie Gould.
Browns got this right.
They nailed it. I mean, the guy has been unbelievable. Now, there's still more games coming in much worse weather, but last week against the Niners, you can't get much worse than that.
He's going to miss some. Let's be clear.
Of course.
We want to preface this. He will miss a few, and it might be in crunch time. We might be upset. But he's been balling.
But 16 of 18, and he had 350-plus and a 58-yarder.
And these aren't just sneaking over.
No.
I mean, some of them are hitting in the net.
Man, what you mean? Right down the middle.
Yeah. Most of them have been right down the middle. The one was a little off to the side.
Yeah. But we'll take that. It was 90 yards.
Hey,
at 58 yards, I don't care. At 58 yards.
Right.
I will say the confidence, he is going to miss, but the confidence that I have in this guy, I used to be a field goal for the Browns, even extra points, used to be edge-of-the-seat drama. Now I'm like, yeah, he's got this.
It's the first time in a long time early in the season with Cade York, certainly, but by this point we had already, Cade
Yes.
York had fallen apart.
Yeah.
It's the first time since Phil Dawson that you have confidence in the kicker.
Absolutely right.
And I'm terrified to see November, December, but we can only base on what we've seen so far.
Right.
A plus to this
100%.
point. Now let's see when the wind starts swirling in November and December. Let's see what happens.
Now, if the Browns can go out and find at quarterback what they found at kicker, because we made a list of the kickers that were available, and I guess McNuggets had his name on one of the lists, way down at the
He was
bottom.
one of the 10.
But he never got any real discussion from us. I thought they went out and signed D-Hop.
Yeah,
I heard
too.
the Browns got D-Hop. I'm like, it's about time we got a
And to
receiver.
be fair, his 50-yard field goals were crappy coming into this, so you'd understand why.
Yeah.
Right.
So if anybody told you that we needed D-Hop at the beginning of the season, the kicker and not the wide receiver, you'd be like, what? But that's the way it's worked out.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this something. Is there, I don't know, you start to feel it. You know how you watch other teams and you watch teams and they may go through adversity and then you're like, how is this team winning? And then they keep winning and keep winning. You'd be like, okay, well, this team, they might got something going on this year. With all this stuff that's going on with Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson, the kickers look like he's actually got a kicker. The Browns are finally getting some calls to go their way. Does it seem like this is creeping into a thing where it just might be a little bit of magic around?
Dust?
A little
That's why I said
fairy
cardiac
dust.
kids at the top of the show.
Little
That's
bit of
what
pixie
it's
No
dust.
doubt. I mean, I think there's two things that could happen, right? This is Captain Obvious. When you have a team that maybe hasn't, in a lot of ways, shouldn't be 4-2 based on, with the quarterback stats, there's no way they should be 4-2. And sometimes a team like that, sometimes the rest of the play catches up to the wins, and you play even better, and now you're rolling off wins. Or it could go the other way, where the flaws of the turnovers, the flaws of the quarterback catch up and you go the other way. But it feels like it's going to be the first one because of whatever. Now they're gonna have to get better quarterback
They have
play.
to address the quarterback before I'm willing to say there's anything magical about what's going on. You got to get better quarterback play.
Yeah.
At this point, like before the season, we were hoping a big year for Deshaun. At this point, I think we'd all sign for middle-of-the-road quarterback play.
I think.
Hey, give me Baker at this point. You said it
That's right,
earlier.
yeah.
I never thought I'd hear those words fall out of your mouth.
No.
You said the Browns would be dying to have
How
Baker
would you
Mayfield
say
in
that?
this.
He is a turnover machine. That doesn't make any sense.
I actually
threw another big pick in a big spot yesterday.
Who's
when they
played
were
better,
driving.
He also drove them down to get a go-ahead field goal or
No, he did.
a tying field goal.
After he had thrown a
at
pick.
the end of the right, but
And
again,
then they lost.
You take the good with the bad. What he's saying is, right now we're just getting bad.
Bull, I would hate to say it.
Yeah.
He's going to say it too.
No. He's not the answer.
Of course, he's not the answer.
He'd be way better.
I mean, yes, he's better than what they've got.
That's
Yes.
the
Way
point.
better.
I'll give you that.
way better.
But
That's the point I was
point is, you don't want a quarterback who's turnover prone. Baker is one of the most, if not the most turnover prone quarterback in the league. He's not the right answer.
No, of
But
course not.
Yes, of course, he's played better than the
Take
Browns
him right
played.
now. I can tell you that.
I would start to feel a lot like they're going into Seattle, right? And right now, for me, I think a lot of people, if you poll the audience, I don't think even the biggest Deshaun Watson fans have faith that you are going to see what you thought you were going to see this year. I think the ship has sailed on this year specifically. If you ask me,
And by the way, next year's the last year, because if he doesn't do it next year, then he's finished.
if you ask me,
What do you mean finished?
He's finished. You got to move on.
You can't.
You can't.
He'll
Bull.
be
Of course you can.
No, the reason why I
He'll be here.
hated this trade from the beginning was because
Yeah.
you married yourself to him for 5
I
years.
thought, weren't the Eagles married to Carson Wentz?
Bull, this is the
That money different.
biggest deal
So
ever.
what? Doesn't matter.
You're going to cut how much is he owed in his last?
I don't know. that
Against
you're
the cap. What is
cares?
his cap hit years 4
His
and 5?
dead cap hit next year is $200 million.
Yeah, you're not cutting.
he ain't going
I didn't
nowhere.
say they were going to cut him next year. I didn't even say they were going to cut him.
His dead cap hit in 2025,
What is that?
$136 million.
Okay, keep going.
All right, once again,
He's on this
2026,
team.
Once again,
$72 million.
I never said cut him. I said if he doesn't play well by next year, you have to come up with another option. You can't just keep playing him.
You got to find your Brock Purdy at that point, I
Yeah,
guess.
like-
Yeah, you are kidding. You
The
do.
Browns-
And those are
SETR.
once in a generation.
Now,
One more thing on the special teams.
Go ahead.
Overall, special teams have played well. Donovan Peoples-Jones is not a good punt returner. But remember all the people who were embarrassing themselves last year by trying to blame Corey Bjorquez for the kicking problems?
Yeah.
We had all these statistics.
Yeah.
That's all nonsense.
Yeah.
Corey Bjorquez, Dustin Hopkins is having no problem with him. And Corey Bjorquez is one of the best punters in the league.
Killing it.
He's great.
Killing it.
That's huge.
What was your point before Bojorquez? You were talking
Quarterback, Watson, moving on from Watson.
Yeah. I mean,
Donovan Peoples-Jones?
No, yeah, Donovan
Yeah.
Peoples-Jones. Why is he still returning punts?
I don't think they have anybody else. At this point,
I mean, Darden looked great 2 weeks ago.
just catch the ball. Just catch the ball.
I know, but
I mean,
thought-
he had a fair catch. I think it was Donovan yesterday. He
Yeah,
had a fair
it was
catch.
a bad fair
Yeah,
catch.
there was no one near him.
I know.
It was 10
I think
yards,
they had.
but-
I think they had the rush on, and so he just made the fair catch. But he had plenty of room.
Yeah.
he had plenty of room.
But I said to Mike, I was like, yeah, just let him fair catch.
So
He
wait a minute.
stinks.
Can we talk about the Darden situation? Because he had 4 returns for 40 yards.
Well, but I don't think he was active yesterday because they brought up another running back. I think.
Yeah, he wasn't active yesterday. He was
Yeah.
on the game day roster.
I'm sorry. You're just wasting that position right now.
And there
he's
was-
proven he can't do this. To me,
Well,
Maybe
Yeah, I
they don't
can't
value
argue that.
They don't value it.
it's not his thing.
That's not
returning punts. just aren't
Returning
his
punch to
thing.
the Browns.
punches ain't his
That's
thing.
not their thing. They just want the fair catch.
Right now, that's about
it.
the only value he brings, and it's not his thing.
I hate how that sounded the default. If we don't know, we're just gonna say that's
not
thing.
his
What,
thing.
you said you had a question on the kicker, Mikey?
I do. So I got a couple things on the kicker real
Okay.
quick. First off, the Browns, since Phil Dawson, have struggled to be consistent at that position, right? And then some teams just seem to find a plethora of it. So the Chargers decided to move on from Dustin Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
They kept Cameron Dicker instead.
Right.
Well, Dicker's third in the NFL with a 90% connection rate.
Yeah.
He's only missed from 59 yards. His only miss on the season. He's 16 to 16 on extra points. So that team fell into
got
two
it right
very
again.
good kicking situations.
Got it right.
I asked them on the post-game show yesterday, asked G and Earl, when Dustin Hopkins walks up and is lining up a deep field goal, we'll use the last one, for example, last night, the 54-yarder. Are you calm? Does your heart rate go down? Does it stay the same? Does it go up? Because that's not a kick.
It goes up a
especially
little,
in the
but with the Browns on extra points, I had to stand up. You know when you stand up when you're watching the game and you stand up?
That's
a
funny.
big play.
Yeah.
You're standing up.
Like-
With the Browns on extra points, I would stand up. I don't think I got off my chair. I was fine.
You know what? I still don't. I'm still not convinced.
I know you're
it's
not.
just PTSD.
I know you're not. I've seen enough.
I'm-
now look, I
I'm
know
waiting for the train-
first time
I'm waiting for the train to fall
the
off
first
the
time he
tracks.
misses one, Jay's going to say,
No.
told you.
I didn't feel that way till he hit the game winner against the Niners. That made me feel confident, and I was confident
But
going into this
Yesterday,
game.
I think yesterday's the first time where I
Here's some-
felt like,
again,
okay,
again,
wow.
I can't stress this enough. They've been playing this sport for 100 years? Well, 75 years? What year is this? The 75th year? I don't know. No kicker, out of all the hundreds that have done it, probably thousands, no kicker has ever had 5 straight games with at least a 50-yard field goal.
Now, in fairness-
and he's had multiple.
And
Now, in fairness, it's great. There may have been we said, well, Justin Tucker's never done it. He might not have had the opportunity to do it.
I don't know
I'm
that.
sure not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that. Here's what I know.
Yeah.
For your coach to say, go on out there and do it, you've got to have confidence.
And
And
he
the
had-
fact they were indoors yesterday
That's
led to.
it.
Big time.
If you can kick in Cleveland Brown Stadium, and he's watched them kick there against the 49ers, he's like, listen.
In the rain.
In the rain.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
60 yards on this nice new
That's
turf.
child's play.
Hey, go ahead out there, bro. I
Yeah.
tried him out there, too.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have a lot of the team's got to have a lot of confidence in him right now.
I have more confidence in him after yesterday than I
Yeah.
did at any point. That was incredible.
Special teams has been good. The punting.
He's going to be the
kicking.
special teams player of the week again.
Oh, he should.
I mean, I don't know.
should.
I didn't see any kicks or punts returned.
Unless Miles beats him for it.
No. my son said, Corey said, no, Dad, he's the AFC player of the week. I go, let's not get crazy.
Yeah.
He's the special teams player of the week. He's like, for me, he's the AFC player of the week.
Yeah.
But Miles is definitely going to be the
He's
player,
the
defensive player of the week.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
the Browns might have all 3 because P.J. Walker could be the offensive player.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
No.
Oh, Lord.
Now, you know, look, I know that we've said that we're going to push the quarterback down the road for this week, and rightfully so.
They're waiting for it. They want it today.
And we're going to talk a lot about it as the week goes on. But let's quickly, not a big discussion, just a quick roundtable. One name that you're calling to bring in for a workout this week.
No, I'm not a workout. I don't want any of those guys.
You're not working anybody
I
out,
want Kirk
so you're-
Cousins.
Well, okay, I want a pony for
this
Christmas.
guy.
What's your name?
That's a ridiculous comment.
No, it's not. You can't afford Kirk Cousins.
How you?
Are you Jimmy Haslam? How are you doing?
No,
I'm aware of what the cap situation is.
Somebody, yeah, Their cap situation is the most cap room of any team in the
He
league.
has a no
So
trade
spend the
clause, too.
freaking money.
$64 million.
Does that have to do with Kirk Cousins?
He has a no trade clause too.
Yes, I
Yes,
know
he's
that.
already said he doesn't want to go anywhere.
Guys say that. He's played for
so
Kevin Stefanski.
one name. Bull's not picking up the phone.
Wait a second. Let me just finish my point. By the way, Kirk Cousins, I got to double check this, but somebody was telling me that his cap hit for this year is only $6 million for the rest of the year.
If they, so
Well,
the
it's
way,
prorated, right?
So it's prorated, but it's also just the base salary.
Right.
Any of the bonuses, the signing
So
bonuses.
it's $6
that is
million.
paid by
What do
the
you mean they
firm.
can't afford it?
So let me give you this.
$6 million. Of course they can afford it.
And I'll give Bull credit to this point.
I'm going to forward you real quick, Bull, and then, G, we're going to do a whole thing tomorrow. We're going to do the blind dating game.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't want to debate it. I just wanted a
I'm going to
name
forward you guys
from
my list
everybody.
so you guys can see a list of guys who will be on the
Well, who are
list.
you calling, Jay?
He would. If you get Kirk Cousins, the Browns Super Bowl contenders.
100%.
Jay, who are you calling?
I'm calling Jacoby Brissett under the assumption that Deshaun will be back at some point.
Who you calling?
I would. I would call Jacoby Brissett for a trade for off the street Nick Foles.
I'm going Jacoby Brissett as well. He's got instant. He'll come in. He'll be able to start in Seattle.
And did you hear what he said? Did you hear what he said? Jacoby Brissett was talking to P.J. Walker, and he said to him, "What advice do you have when he found out he was playing?" He said, "Listen, if Amari Cooper is anywhere near in the screen, throw him the ball. Just throw it to him." And he was like, "Okay, cool." They
Mike,
talked
what's
about it
Jacoby
yesterday.
Brissett's cap hit for this year? Do you know?
Jacoby Brissett, if they were to trade for him
million?
now,
$2 million?
would cost him about $1.5 million for the rest of the year.
Easy
So,
money.
so you're telling me you'd rather have Jacoby Brissett at $1.5 million over Kirk Cousins at $6 million?
I think the 6 is. I think that's low. I'm not positive on that. I think that's low.
Okay,
I'd
I
have
mean,
to
it may
look.
be wrong, but
I would think it would be low because even if it was prorated, if he's $20 million, we're not halfway through the season
For who?
for Kirk Cousins.
It would cost him about $5.5–6 million for the rest of the year.
Why?
Because it's only what his base salary is, and
Right.
it's prorated off his base salary.
What's his
Correct.
base salary?
$10 million.
Okay, so we're what?
Paying
not,
half the season?
Not to the half. No, we're not halfway through the season.
Yeah, so it's a little more than half.
Yeah, I
so
said
about
it's
$6
$6 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's insane to want
the
Jacoby
reason
Brissett.
I dismiss it out of hand is because as soon as he said I'm not going anywhere, I said
No,
okay,
you
so-
just said you dismissed it out of hand because of the money.
yes, and the fact
Which
that
is
he
ridiculous.
said
It's
and
only
the
$6
fact that he
million.
said he's not going anywhere.
So what? He said it. You asked me. I'm calling him up if I'm Kevin Stefanski. I'm saying, Kirk Cousins, you want to be on this crappy Minnesota team that's going backwards because when they get smoked again by the Niners tonight, or you want to try to win a championship with the best defense
I
in football?
believe, what was reported Friday, he said, I'm not going to waive my no trade clause.
Okay, but I
He
mean,
said that,
well, he didn't say that. It was
What-
reported. He didn't say it publicly.
What you think it'll take to get him?
I have no idea. I
I'd
don't
take
know.
at least a second-round pick.
Second round
take it
pick.
easy.
Let's go.
Easily.
You wouldn't give up a second round pick. Guy's one of the 10 best quarterbacks in the league. He's the back end of the top 10.
I think. And
What's he done in his playoffs?
What's Deshaun Watson done in his playoffs? What's Baker Mayfield done
Listen,
in his playoffs? Nothing.
I tried
Fine. How many
making that
guys have
point.
won in the playoffs, Jay? What's Jacoby Brissett done in the playoffs?
Listen, I made the point about Deshaun's lack of playoff success, and
Yes.
you poo-pooed it.
I'm just saying he's got to prove it just like Deshaun Watson does.
And what has he done in the playoffs? I'm just asking a question. Mikey?
Not
Give me
much.
some numbers.
okay,
Deshaun
what has
Watson
Jacoby
in the
Brissett
playoffs.
done in the playoffs?
Not much.
I want.
I want Jacoby Brissett's playoff numbers. Give me his.
They're probably
He's
0,
never
0,
played because
0,
nobody
0,
would want
0,
Jacoby
yeah.
Brissett, and you can't make the playoffs with
So
Jacoby Brissett.
we do have one quarterback that has playoff experience that we're talking about. I just asked Mikey for his numbers.
And I'm looking him up right
Curious
now.
to
Deshaun
see
Watson
what
in
he's
the
done.
playoffs.
He's been
No,
bad
not
in the
Deshaun
playoffs.
Watson.
Cousins.
Yeah, that's the guy we're talking about. What has he done?
We
I
know
don't
he
care.
hasn't played well.
I don't
That's
care.
where you earn your money.
I don't care
Kirk
what he
Cousins
done
in the playoffs has
He
played
better than what
5
he got.
playoff games.
Yeah.
right?
He's won 1 of them.
1-4.
He has 5 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Oh, terrible.
Wow.
5 touchdowns.
That's pretty
one
good.
interception.
He played pretty well.
Pretty damn good.
They haven't lost because of him.
It's really 4 games. He only threw 10 passes and 1 in relief. So
Yeah.
he's 1-3, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Yeah. I mean, I don't feel like I have to break my neck to do that.
Listen, if they could get it done, I would by all
a no-brainer.
By all means, do it.
Why
But
would you want Brissett over Cousins if it's a $4.5 million difference?
Because I'm of the belief that Deshaun only needs a couple of weeks. I'm basing it on the fact that you're trying to wrap the wound right now. Now, if you're talking Deshaun's out for the rest of the year, okay, then let's have the Cousins conversation, but it's going to cost a lot more in capital, and every dollar counts right now on the cap. So it may not sound like a lot, but it is a lot.
What do you
even
think
go
it would
from 2 to
cost
6.
just on
I agree.
Draft.
Probably at least a second.
Yeah, I don't see how they do it.
But again, I'm looking at this as let's just dress the wound. It's a wound right now. I'm not looking at this as Deshaun's out for the year. I'm looking at this as let's get through the next month.
I'm looking at it as even if he ain't out for the year, I think Deshaun Watson will be inconsistent this whole year.
He might be.
Yeah. What time?
That's how I look at
today? 120. What time did you talk
Stefanski's
today?
120.
And
Yeah, I thought it was
120. Oh, that was 12. Okay. And also, like, this isn't fantasy, and you just paid Deshaun $230 million. If you bring Kirk Cousins into that locker room,
But he's a free agent at the end of the year.
I understand.
No, you're talking about.
I'm talking about
chemistry.
Deshaun Watson's reaction to seeing Kirk Cousins walk in the locker room.
Suck it up, Buttercup. I mean, let's go. It's time to win.
I'm just saying.
I'm with Jason. You can't do it.
These
Oh
are
my
these.
God.
What you can't do? What? Hold on. What you
Cole,
say?
these are massive.
You cannot bring Kirk Cousins in if Deshaun's not
If
out.
Deshaun's not going to, if you feel like Deshaun can't play the rest of the year,
But
then of course
Oh
you bring him in.
Hold on. He would. I agree with that. If Deshaun is not having surgery, and he is, they would have to shut him down first.
Yeah,
Yes.
you wouldn't
Yes.
want
Yes.
want Kirk Cousins standing over and
No.
saying, "I'm here for 4 games."
No.
The Browns wouldn't do that move if
They
they thought it was
can't.
4 games.
You only have that discussion if it is 100% confirmed
Did
official.
it
that
sway
Deshaun's
your
out.
thinking at all about the diagnosis of a micro tear after we heard what the American meteorologic or medical blah 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 orthopedic surgeons? To me, I changed my way of thinking this morning. When I saw that, I thought, well, God, if it can't heal while he's throwing the ball, you're shutting him down.
I think it's early enough in the season. I'm not ready to shut him down yet. I'm just not, because there's so much football left to go. If you sit him for 3 weeks, if you sit him for a month, you bring him back, and it looks like it did yesterday, then I think you have that conversation. But there's still enough time. There's plenty of time.
Are you guys apprehensive about the fact that, like, he did get hit, but he didn't even take a direct blow to the shoulder?
No, it was nowhere near the shoulder.
It was like,
He looked like he was dead. For a second.
and then he put his
I
arm
thought that
down.
was wounded pride.
He put his
Personally,
arm down to brace his fall a little bit.
But didn't he get? I thought he got hit on an earlier throw on that same
he
spot.
did.
I thought
We were literally 6.5 miles in the sky. We were sitting
Yeah,
on
that's
the roof.
one of the worst press boxes in the NFL.
We were sitting on the roof. I watched the entire game
Yeah,
through
you can't
binoculars.
see anything
But
from
it looked like he took a hit on that exact same spot before the hit that knocked him out of the game.
I worry about the hit. Listen, I mean, as a quarterback, you get hit on play action, read option, RPO stuff. You get hit like run-of-the-mill hits. Think about it. You know those hits where you throw the ball, they wrap you up, drive you to the ground, and you either hit your clavicle, your collarbone, or your shoulder. He can't sustain one of those. He can't. Like, it's just, to me, and when Kevin Stefanski said, I was protecting him, I think what he meant was, I don't think you can protect yourself from hits out there.
Well, I think one of the things that was most disappointing to me was the throw that the second interception, which was overturned, came on, was the throw that you can't barely make healthy.
Yeah.
He was running away from his arm side and throwing the ball against the grain. Those are picks in the NFL. Those are picks. And the fact that he thought he could make that throw with the injury that he has, I think Stefanski said, I got to get him out of there because he's playing with a head of an old Deshaun Watson, and he's not taking into effect what his arm can do today.
Yeah,
I think he was protecting Deshaun by saying he's pulling him out to protect him. He didn't pull him out.
It felt like a benching to me too. Honestly, the way he hit his head on the turf,
we thought concussion.
It looked like concussion.
And he said the second trip into the tent was for concussion. The first trip into the tent, I think everyone knows that, right? He made 2 trips into the tent.
Yes.
First trip into the tent was for the shoulder. Second trip into the tent was for a concussion.
By the way, did you see that player was fined for physical and verbally accosting one of these unaffiliated doctors?
I didn't see that.
It happened yesterday. The fine was announced yesterday. I think it was like a $5,000 or $50,000. Might have been 50.
50 something.
Yeah, he put his hands on and was verbally berating this independent
doctor.
neurologist. It's not a good look.
Hey man, when you get on that field, when
the testosterone
them
kicks
guys
in.
down there, you don't want to play. These dudes is they on something else when they playing.
You're right.
Yep.
We're going to let Jason unload his reporter's notebook in 1 second. We have to remind the good people out there one last time that FanDuel is the best sportsbook on the market. There is no secondary option. It is FanDuel or nothing if you're part of the UCSS fam. You can get it on all the NFL action, all the NBA action, all the Major League playoff action, and you can get $200 in bonus bets by placing a simple $5 bet. So win or lose, you get $200 in bonus bets regardless of the outcome of your bet. We showed you a ticket earlier today that went from $6 to $70 on a 4-game same-game parlay, or a 4-part same-game parlay. You could be next to win something big like that. They have spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off all the action. That is FanDuel.com.
It was 50,000.
/UCSS.
I just want to throw that in there real quick. It was Jamal Adams. It happened during the Bengals game. The Seahawks brought him into the tent. The concussion doctor looked at him and said, "No, you're not going." And he berated this independent concussion doctor and is going to write a $50,000 check now.
Ooh.
Yeah, they're and rightfully so. They're not taking that lightly.
Yeah.
Like, he is the last word on as to whether or not the player gets back into the game, and they ruled that he shouldn't play, and he didn't like it.
So, Jason, what else did you find out post-game in the locker room that you might be able to give you some insight in?
We covered quite a bit of it. I was talking to Joel about the flag. He was the illegal lineman downfield, and they picked up the flag. And I thought it was on Wyatt because Wyatt was pleading his case, but he was sticking up for his guy. And Wyatt even said, "You're going to throw it on Joel? Seriously? Of all people, you're going to throw it on Joel?" And the replay that they showed in the stadium was bad. And Joel's like, "It's a bad replay." Like, he was not downfield. So that was just a little funny thing. We covered the
I think
Myles thing.
on the telecast they said they picked up the flag because the pass was completed behind the line of scrimmage.
Oh, well, Joel said it was a bad replay and he wasn't even as far down. The pass was already caught by the time they showed.
Am I misremembering that?
You're right.
They said that.
They said it was the pass was behind
the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, which is why they didn't call
so
it.
it didn't matter.
We covered the Myles stuff. Denzel did not have a concussion. That was huge. They pulled him.
It was big with his history.
Huge.
I know. When they said they were
Huge.
looking at him for a head injury,
Yeah, we thought the
teetering.
same thing.
What happened? Like, obviously that pick he made was a fantastic play.
Terrific.
That wasn't even a terrible throw by Minshew.
No.
It was just a great play.
He was
by
open.
him.
He almost
Yeah.
baited him into it.
It was
Or
brilliant.
it felt like he baited him into it.
He was open when Gardner threw
yes,
that.
he
Did
was.
you ask them the long touchdown that I guess Ward gave up? That was on they called the penalty. It seemed like Ward stopped playing.
On the 2 times that Myles was called
jumped.
for,
Miles
both
jumped.
times those turned into long
Yeah,
touchdowns.
I thought it was.
That was, one was
Grant.
Mark Emerson got dunked on.
I thought it
wasn't
was
Denzel Ward.
Delpit. I thought watching it live. I thought
no,
Delpit
you're right.
stopped.
It was Denzel.
It was Denzel on that first touchdown to.
On the first offsides by Garrett.
Right.
They ran a wheel route.
Yes.
And Delpit
Yeah.
didn't. Either it was supposed to be
Ward started
supposed
cutting
to
back
carry
into
him,
and then stopped.
he didn't.
and he didn't
stopped.
carry him, or Delpit. It was
I thought it was
either or.
I
It's
thought Delpit stopped.
Well, Tyvus. He gonna be in this.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It might not have been Ward's fault.
was
That
either
might
one of
you
those.
know,
Watching
I
it
don't know.
live, I thought Delpit stopped. On replay, I didn't think he did.
Why is Myles stopping on that? Both times he just stood up.
Yeah, well, I think Myles needs to. If you jump and you get caught,
Finish the play.
Keep going.
grab a guy.
Yes.
Stop the play.
Absolutely.
Just stop the play. Don't give them a free play.
Yeah.
And I think he's so good. He doesn't need and he kind of brushes off the 5-yard penalty. He's like, man, I'm going to get it back later. I don't even care about those. But they are big plays in the moment, and they are free plays for the defense. He's so good and so fast and so strong. I don't know that he needs to try and anticipate the snap to that extent.
Did you guys see that? I think it was either at halftime or after the game. They were reading his get-off stats. He's a .5, and then they talked about.
He said a Ferrari was like a point two.
An Olympic sprinter is a .2.
Wow.
And there was another a Formula One driver was .3. So you're right. He doesn't need that advantage, but he's aggressive. We know that. I like that. I'm okay with that.
You have to live with the couple
But
that he's
to
going
your
get.
point, end the play.
Right.
I mean, those were 14 points that were allowed
Right.
on 2 offsides
Just
penalties.
grab somebody.
Or
They blow
end
the
the play.
whistle
Or-
if it
if
feels
there's
like
contact.
Yeah,
or if you're unabated to the quarterback.
Just
Because
Yeah.
no good is going to come from it. It's a
No.
free play for the offense.
don't give 'em that
So
running
just
play.
hit him and give him the
Myles
5
Garrett,
yards.
start going tackling them. Like they'll blow the whistle if you get close enough. They will. They were like, oh, the play's dead.
Yeah, that was a little concerning to me because
Yeah.
as good as he was and as much as he helped everything, on those were 2 plays.
he
that
just needs to
were
just hit him.
Yeah,
Hit
just
somebody.
knock somebody
and kill
down.
Yeah,
the
but the
play.
whole team's got to know that you don't give up on the play.
Right,
I mean,
right. You got to go.
And by the way, I give him a little bit of side. We talk about the defense. When Denzel Ward went out, that forced Greg Newsome to be on Pittman.
on that, and he missed that tackle.
And Pittman's a big dude. That was a terrible. See, this is why Jim Schwartz knows best. Stay right in here with these little small guys. He's too physical for him.
Yeah, that was when Ward was out of the game. When Denzel left the game is when Newsome went to the outside and hit Pittman on the big play. So it was good to see Denzel come back. I was chasing a couple things in particular, so I didn't spend a lot of time on other things in the locker room. I think that's probably it for the best notable stuff.
Anything from Stefanski? What was the most notable thing from Stefanski? That he
benched his quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And Kevin's talking right now. And
it is now.
Yeah.
It is
I'd like to know if there's any injury updates on Ford.
No more updates. He's not giving any updates on Deshaun or Ford as of now. More information later in the week.
So we'll know if Deshaun don't speak this week, he's not playing.
Well, I don't see how you can play him. I don't see how you can put him back out there.
I don't see how you can play him.
I don't.
Seattle sacked the Giants quarterbacks 11 times.
11 times.
Oh, no.
You're not doing this.
And it's at Seattle? No.
Yeah, you're not doing this.
No.
I have no faith in P.J. Walker, though. Sorry.
I don't either. That's why I'm saying. That's why I said I would like to see DTR with a full week where he is preparing to be the quarterback.
I don't know what you want to put him in that environment, though.
Yeah, that's not going to be an easy one for anybody.
And Zach made the point yesterday on our podcast we have to do for The Athletic that you could, because you won this game and because you stole last week, you can almost
money.
Yeah.
If
you
you
lose the Seattle game, it's an NFC team. It's not going to kill you in the standings. I'm not going to call any game a punt.
Okay, then try DTR.
But
if it's a punt,
but do you really? He's already been damaged possibly by an awful experience once. Do you really want to damage him with a second terrible experience?
To quote Bull, suck it up, Buttercup.
So
the NFL.
But this is why I go back to Brissett, because you could trade for him right now and start him Sunday.
Oh, no question.
He's the
that's
only
why he's
guy.
my name too.
He's the only guy that's a plug and play right now.
No, he's not, Jason. No, he's not. I'm gonna throw another name out at you. Josh Dobbs.
No.
A little reunion.
They would look crazy.
Better.
They would look
Jacoby's
crazy
better.
if they traded Josh Dobbs and then brought him back.
There is another plug and play guy.
Plug and play.
But Jacoby's better. And I can't believe
disagree.
I'm stumping for Jacoby. I was killing him all last year.
It's where we are.
But it's where you're at. It's the reality where you're at.
Do you honestly think, give me a percentage chance that they actually do trade for anybody?
Very low.
I think low too.
That's crazy.
I mean, look, this is a team that stares the camera in the face every week and says, "No, we're good at wide receiver. We're good."
Yeah, I think
again, no touchdowns from a wide receiver yesterday.
But I might as well go back there and play quarterback.
I think it's less than 10%.
That they make a move for a quarterback. That's probably accurate. But the Jacoby move makes a ton of sense to me because you've given up what you got for Dobbs. You're paying him what you would have paid Dobbs. He fits right in. And again, I'm looking at this as very short term. Address the wound. The body isn't dead.
Do you remember the scene on the field at the preseason game when the Browns were asking Jacoby Brissett to get their picture taken with them?
Hey.
This guy was beloved in that locker room.
But let's remember, I've said it all last year, and got to have at moments, he was throwing crushing interceptions.
He was.
Crushing interceptions.
And he had a defense that put him in a lot of gotta have it moments.
Yes, he did.
But
I just think this is a bad situation. I think he's the best solution to a bad situation.
I mean, you
sort of hold your nose.
You know what you do? It's one of those situations where you just put your nose down and you try to plow through it, because if you just look at all of the evidence that's put us to where we are at this point, just the fact that you lost Nick Chubb. Yeah. We've moved on from that, but guess what? The problem hasn't fixed itself. No. The play has been okay, but it's not like it would be if you had Nick Chubb.
Sure.
Then your right tackle is gone.
Yep.
You've got a myriad. How many injuries? 3 or 4 from yesterday's game that are on the injured report?
Oh, yeah.
So, and they're key players, guys you don't want to miss. It's but somehow, some way, this team just keeps winning and finds themselves 4-2. Now, the other thing we haven't talked about, which needs to be, 4-2 in most divisions puts you comfortably in first or second place. In this division, you're in third, and you're a game ahead of the Bengals, who are coming hard now.
Yep.
So, I mean, what's it going to take to win this division? It's
the best division in football.
Right now it is. I believe it is.
By the way, the AFC North in their non-division games are a combined 11-4.
This is like when I ran a 10K and I was doing everything I could to keep up, and I got passed by a woman pushing a baby. It was the most deflating, demoralizing. It's what these moms do. They run these 10Ks with their children, and they run strollers. And the woman passed me, and I was like, all right, I give up. But that's what this division feels like. You're doing
does.
everything you can. You're fighting. You're clawing. You're scratching.
And the AFC,
You're 4-2.
the AFC is just as crazy.
And the last place team is 3-3 and coming up with a baby
And what
carriage.
sucks is, like, you really thought that both the Steelers and Ravens could have lost, not once the game started, but going into those games.
Well, on
Sure. You
paper,
thought they
didn't it
coulda
look like they
lost.
could? The Lions are red hot. They were
and
coming
the
in.
Rams, for the third time in 4 weeks, teams have handed the Steelers a win.
And you know what? You're right. And
Yeah.
I keep saying this about Los Angeles, and I'm going to stick to it. I know they spent a lot of money on that stadium, and I don't know what the hell they're going to do with it. That game yesterday was an embarrassment
It's
to
always
that
that
market.
way. I
I,
mean,
know it is,
almost always, yeah.
but it
Vegas
was
is the
way
same
worse
way.
yesterday. It looked like the game was in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
My nephew and brother-in-law live in Phoenix. They made the trip to LA for the game. They sent us pictures. The play it looked like whatever the hell their new stadium is called, West.
Steelers and Cowboys travel like no other. Those fan
Yeah.
bases like no others.
Speaking of, did you hear
But
them
guys, I
chant
didn't see
Myles
any
Garrett?
Rams fans.
They don't exist.
I heard some chants of Myles Garrett.
Oh,
at
they
this
did.
game.
They were chanting the whole
Indianapolis.
A lot of
There were a lot of Browns fans
Browns
there.
fans turned out in
Yeah.
Indy. There was a ton of Browns fans
Good.
there.
Yeah.
That's an
Quote
easy
from
road trip
Stefanski
for
real
Browns
quick,
fans.
guys.
Okay.
Zach Jackson just tweeted this out, but he was asked directly, any chance Watson goes to the IR? And he just responded, he's day-to-day. So we are going to be clouded by veil and uncertainty.
Yeah, they're buttoned up now.
Yeah,
to
they're
the
going
end
to
of
stay
the week.
tight.
They ready.
And I don't blame them.
They got it together.
Yeah.
He did it. Hey, listen, shout out. Stefanski was like, yeah, I see that cloak of secrecy can get you out of the game. He was like, no, come on. I'm
know
gonna
what?
protect you real quick.
One note real quick, because I know this came up and Zach and I were talking about this. The fact DTR was not the emergency third quarterback, because they could have been in a bad spot if PJ got hurt. All three quarterbacks have to be on the 53 in order to use that rule. And PJ was another practice squad elevation this week. He's not technically on the 53. So because of that, they couldn't designate DTR as the third string.
And he said
was inactive
if
yesterday.
PJ got hurt, he would have put Deshaun back in.
He had to. They had no other quarterback.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Either
Who's
him
the
or Harrison
emergency
Bryant.
quarterback outside of that?
Harrison
Barnes?
Bryant, I guess.
Or Harrison Bryant, yeah. Wow. Okay,
guess.
that's scary.
But either you put PJ on the 53.
Well, they're going to have to if he's going to start. You can't just elevate a guy without adding him to the 53. I think it's three times max.
Three. So
So they
next
could do
week
it
would
one
be the
more
third.
time. But
Next
after
week would
that,
be the
if
third.
they don't get another quarterback and Watson's not ready to go, they're going to have to put him on
And
the
it
roster.
just scares me to death that they're going into that environment where you can't hear, you can't audible, you
Yeah.
can't check. So if you want to, change something in pass pro, good luck.
Yeah.
And this team, it was an avalanche in that Giants game. It just built on itself. The crowd, which created some of the early sacks, fed off that energy.
Yep.
It was so loud in there. The Giants quarterbacks were helpless to change anything.
And PJ Walker at the line of scrimmage is especially when they're blitzing, bringing more than 5. It's almost an automatic sack.
Yeah, this was Daniel Jones that took 10 of those sacks.
It's automatic.
And he's experienced enough, but he just couldn't.
Well, in fairness, the Giants have had their offensive line's been miserable, but
No,
they
I know
found
they
a way
were
to win
horrendous.
yesterday.
But you can't, to the
I
checkout point.
Yeah.
If you can't hear when you're in that building, it is crazy.
I don't know. I think, man, I'm not going to call it a punt, but if they don't get a quarterback, it's very difficult to pick the Browns to go in there with PJ Walker in Seattle and win that game.
If the defense plays as well as it did against
They
San
have to have that
Francisco, then
same-
they're always going
Wait,
to have a
G,
chance.
You can't say it's difficult to pick the Browns with P.J. Walker when you literally pick the Browns with P.J. Walker to beat San
You
Francisco.
pick the Browns every week.
That
They were
was
at
at
home.
home. That
They
was
were
at
at
home.
home.
See?
No one on this panel. I will just
See?
make this declaration right now. No one on this panel will pick the Browns to win in Seattle.
That's
no
false.
Don't put it past G.
No one's going to.
And I love G.
I mean, I picked.
This is different.
I picked the 49. I picked them to beat the 49ers. That was at home. I thought the Colts, they had a better roster than the Colts, and we got superstars. Myles Garrett showed up. In this game, I mean, it's the 12th man. It's in Seattle. The Browns have traditionally not played well there. And you don't have the stable running backs. Your running backs is out of here. So, I don't know. Unless they plan on going to get somebody, but I don't think they're going to get nobody. I think it is what it is. You can
Did you
beat
see
your Walker.
Smith and Jigba got his first touchdown
I did.
yesterday?
I did.
He hasn't done much to this
No,
point.
no.
But they
Been
haven't
out for a long
they
time.
haven't really used him that much.
No,
He's their
but-
third receiver. and they're a run first. Listen, their run game.
I know.
Kenneth Walker's as good as any back in the league right now.
This is going to be a really interesting football game.
Tough test, but
I don't know which Browns team we're going to get, but it's going to tell us something.
Mikey, can I get that poster here at some point?
Yeah, Anthony's going to bring it. I'm going to read some super chats real quick, and then I'll give us a few minutes at the end for Bull to plug what he wants to plug here. And we got a bunch of them, so bear with me. But whenever we read you super chats, guys, it's brought to us by our dear friends at PCC Air Force. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Air Force is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Air Force at Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. I think we have 24 super chats, so you guys ready to run through some?
Go ahead, Mikey. Let's do it.
The first one comes from Josh Z. He says, DJ makes great throws when we need them most. Dude has ice in his veins. He is not good, but he has been good enough to steer the ship in rough waters. That's fair.
That's not fair.
That's definitely unfair.
I mean, he did go
The
0 for
only
5.
thing accurate in that super chat was that he's not good. That's the only thing accurate.
Ice.
Mikey,
He's not good, though.
You referenced the 0 for 5 on the game-winning drive against the Niners. He was 3 for 8 yesterday. So in game-winning drives, he's 3 for 13.
Yeah,
that's some ice in his veins.
But I'll tell you what, you can't take that 6-yarder away from DPJ, and you can't take the throw he made away yesterday to number 8.
The throw to Elijah was a great throw.
That was a
great throw.
That was one
man.
of the most Hail Mary throws I've ever. That ball.
At that moment, you felt like, oh, it's over. The game's over.
I do. I was like, this is done data right here. But that was a pretty football. I'd be mad as hell if I was a Colts. I'd be mad as hell today.
Yeah.
There's no way you lose.
If you tell me that, if I'm a Colts fan, you're like, you're going to score 38 points, and Deshaun's not going to make it out the first quarter,
Sick.
and you're going to win, I'd be like, yeah, easy money. I'm betting the house on it. And it
gosh.
didn't turn out to be. So,
Oh, my God.
next super chat comes from Kenneth Yablowski. Yablonowski.
Mike has mispronounced that name every day for 2 months.
YABLONSKY.
Just whatever you went with the first time, just go stick with it. Keep going.
Yablowski says, start DTR. He's the future. Kenny Moss said, I super chatted what it would take to get Brissett a few weeks ago, and y'all laughed at me and said it's not going to happen.
They laughed at me, too. It's okay.
Well, they haven't done it yet.
At the time,
okay,
Washington had gotten off to a decent start. And I was like, well, why would you trade your backup quarterback?
Every week that goes by, you have to pay him less. And every dollar matters. And it's not, the cap is real. And it's the rollover money. It's the money you can roll into next year. So all of this matters. So every week that you wait.
What did you say Watson's cap hit was in year 4?
No, the dead cap hit.
the
Dead
cap
cap. I'm
hit.
sorry.
Dead cap hit 100 something or
he
70
said
million.
it was 200, and then it was 130, and then it was 70 million that third year.
If you think about it, what's his agent's name?
David Mulugeta.
Okay, dude, you're in the Agent Hall of Fame. You are literally in the Agent Hall of Fame.
Deshaun's dead cap hit next year is 200 million. In 2025, it's 136 million, and in 2026, it's 72 million.
But you don't worry about that because you knew you weren't going to cut him.
And,
you're not
and
going to just
yeah,
cut
well,
Deshaun.
but the more that you have to restructure it, the more it keeps tacking on the end. Like, that's why I said a few weeks ago, guys, this is going to end really ugly at some point. It's what you do between now and then is what matters. But it
better
always
win
ends
one.
ugly. He's got an $9 million cap hit, and he's not even under contract in 2027.
Jason didn't even know. He was actually talking about global warming.
Do any of you guys have to pay those? Do any of you guys have to pay those bills? Because if you don't, I don't give a crap.
But it's about the flexibility of what you can do with the roster.
Yes, it's the
It's not about
totality
writing
of
the check.
What it means you can't put on the team because of that.
Matt Ryan had I think it was Matt Ryan had a $40 million cap hit last year on the Falcons when he was playing for the Colts. And it's not the check that
And they
you
went
write.
to a Super Bowl.
Yes, and that's why I just said it's going to end ugly.
Yeah.
It's about what matters is what you
before
do
that.
between
That's
now
right.
and
So,
then.
I mean, Bull, you like me, man. I don't care nothing about the
I
national
don't got to pay
deficit.
the money.
It's not about writing the check. It's
It's
about how it hamstrings the rest of your
That's
roster.
exactly right. Pieces
No,
you can't
it doesn't.
afford because of
who
what
haven't they
you're
been able to
paying
afford so
one
far?
guy.
Well, they've sucked for 25 years.
Yeah.
Now they're good. Now you're going to have to start making hard decisions.
Let's go.
And you start losing guys. You start all those cap
Every other
casual-
team with a high-paid quarterback do the same thing. You got to figure it out.
Keep
That's
him pushing.
All right, next up is from
No, isn't
John
that true?
Beatty.
No, but every team that's good loses guys because they can't keep them under the cap.
And if you have a good GM who replaces them with young players, it's not a problem. If the GM can't do it, then it's a big deal.
We'll see.
Our
You
track record at doing
you
that
keep
is pretty
mentioning
woeful.
Pat Mahomes. Well, his contract is about to become what Deshaun's is.
Right.
So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs.
And they lost good players because he's so good it doesn't matter. If Watson's not good, then it's a disaster. If he continues to suck, it's a disaster.
All right, next up's from John Beatty. He says, a 4-2 start and throw away the season by benching Watson. If he's cleared, he should play. Let him adjust to what his limitations are. I'm tired of this next season already
How'd
mentality.
that look through 5 throws yesterday?
Hey, man, I'm not listen, I disagree. I'm not about to let you get adjusted to nothing. I watched Baker Mayfield try to get adjusted for a whole year. And it didn't work.
I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. The Baker comp is a bad comp.
Yes,
it's
it is.
totally different. One's a throwing shoulder, one's not. But the more important part, Deshaun has his money. Baker didn't have his.
Yes.
They had to play Baker, and Baker had to play because he was playing for a contract.
Absolutely.
That's not the case. It is night and day. They are not the same
In fact,
situation.
Jason, I would argue that his contract is a hindrance to him getting back on the field.
Well, because you're trying to protect the asset.
Yes, that's exactly right. Why would you put him out there?
The Browns are trying to protect the asset.
If
but
you hurt,
But there's also no rush for Deshaun to get back out there.
He's got his money.
Deshaun said yesterday after the game, after he was told his coach said you're a go, we'll see.
he's got his money.
that's why
He's got the hammer and he's got the money.
ain't no hammer. We can put. Listen, go ahead and sit down. I'm gonna go give me another quarterback. Go ahead over there now.
Next one comes from our guy, Daryl. Daryl says, a win is victory money. 4-2 Kool-Aid Mafia in effect. AB's working the phones as we speak. He will cook this week. Carson Wentz or Andy Dalton. UCSS Rocks, love you guys. We love Daryl, too.
That is spoken just like a Kool-Aid Mafia member.
Daryl's wearing his sweatshirt.
He pictured my man on the phones now. He told you the time and place. He was on the phone. He's on the phones right now, dog. I just talked to him.
I think he's playing Dungeons and Dragons right now.
He is not playing Dungeons and Dragons right
Jeffrey
now.
Anderson says, if we remain at status quo at quarterback, the season is over. Nick H says, is Kaepernick worth a workout?
Stop it.
The
league blackballed him. He's been out of the league too many years.
We have not seen him play since the Obama administration.
It's been too
But guys,
long.
in terms of unlikely storylines, which isn't that, everybody says the NFL isn't writing these storylines because you couldn't make up these storylines. From that world.
If that would happen.
I mean, what have you got to lose?
Jason Lloyd would quit the beat.
It's been too many years.
Jason Lloyd would literally quit
I
the
will
beat.
pull the blankets up.
That would be
over my
that
head.
would be an amazing story after he got screwed over by the league. But
I mean, what
I don't want to work that hard.
Jay,
I don't wanna work that
what
hard,
does it
guys.
cost you to bring him in and to see what he looks like? I think that's free.
I mean, you could say that about any of these guys.
You could,
They've
but
made their. I mean, he's been out of the league for so long.
he has, and the game has changed since the time he's been gone.
We talk about Deshaun missing a year and a half,
Right.
And now,
You know what?
Like,
If you would have told Browns fans at the beginning of the season that they're going
Right.
to whack their draft choice kicker and get a guy who's 50% from 50 and beyond,
Yeah.
and that in his first 5 games he's going to break an NFL record on such kicks,
I mean, but this
you
quarterback.
can't write that storyline.
No,
This is
but
quarterback.
this is a lot more
Colin
extreme.
Kaepernick is
You know
just
what?
not realistic.
Just you're
It's
not
not
even going to
realistic.
kick the tires. You're
No.
not even going to bring him in.
No.
Okay.
No, it's
Go
been
ahead.
too
All right,
long.
next up from M. Bynes says Jerome Ford and all our backs need to look at Jonathan Taylor's ability to let his blocks develop. He looked great because he did that.
If you
John
got-
Harris
if you
said
got it, you
Myles
got
Garrett
it.
just stopping on those flags hurt us. We'll have to think about this next one. Hyper Frosty has a suggestion, and he wants our opinion on it. We'll think about it offline afterwards. But he said, what do I have to do for Victory Mondays? You guys give me a challenge, maybe a polar plunge, a hot pepper challenge, etc. I'll record it and send it in. I'll do this the whole season and postseason if they win.
Nice.
Love you guys. So we'll think about that, Hyper Frosty. We'll get back to you. That is a great idea. Always Balling 7 says, felt like the Colts ran a lot of motion and crossing patterns. Browns, it seems like, play a decent amount of man-to-man coverage. Kudos to Indy. That was a good game plan. I think offensively, Shane Steichen did drop some interesting ways to attack that Cleveland defense.
They did run a lot of motion.
Said, they did a ton. Something I noticed about our defense against Indy used the snap count to great effect and caught us sleeping. Second, they relied heavily on RPOs, which exploited our defense and man coverage. Steichen comes from Philly.
Yep.
Heavy RPO, heavy motion offense. James Bowen said, I don't understand why the Browns don't incorporate the tush push that the Eagles are using in short yardage. It's unstoppable. Armac Dog says Watson needs to stop playing hero ball and learn to be a game manager. by taking what the defense gives them. Rest Watson, bring back Jacoby. Myles Garrett is that dude. He's Superman, up, and away.
Can he play quarterback?
Probably better than P.J. Walker.
Yeah.
Would that be fun?
That would be awesome.
Imagine trying to sack Myles Garrett.
He would just look at you hanging on your
Be
on his
gone
leg
with
and
me,
laugh at
peasant.
you.
Yeah.
Debaser1990 said, we wasted $250 million on this chump. He tore his rotator cuff picking up his wallet. If this D continues to step up, screw it, we don't need him. That's harsh. Clink Tattoo said, not the D-Hop we wanted, but the D-Hop we needed.
I love that.
You needed both, actually.
I actually love that.
I'll take the other
That's
one, too.
really good.
Can I get a package deal with the Twins? I'll take that.
The D-Hop twins.
Good
Brady
grace.
says, Newsome looks tiny out there. The dude can't tackle. Scott Jenkins said, Deshaun
Tackling
Watson's
name is
guaranteed money
Nah,
can be
tackling.
voided if he's suspended for 2+ games.
None of that.
I would trade him to Washington straight up for Jacoby now and sign Cousins/a vet in 2024.
Jadeveon Clowney, this is random thought, is balling this year.
Yeah.
NFL Network did a thing on him Friday.
Yeah, he's playing well.
Yeah.
KD says, what about Cam Newton?
Oh, my God.
Cam Newton can't throw.
Cam Newton shot.
His shoulder's done.
Damn. What
Vernell
about Peyton
Jackson.
Manning? I mean, let's just bring Peyton
right.
in here.
Well,
for a
you'll like
workout.
this one then. Vernell says, shut Watson down. Let's call Tom Brady.
Yeah, right. Good luck with that.
Why would he? Never mind.
Not happening.
Debaser1990
Well, I'll tell
says
you
we need
why
to
he
talk
would.
about Kevin.
Because he's Tom Brady.
Dustin Hopkins should be called Dustin Tucker. That's from Inside Omari.
That's
a
kind of
good
dope.
one, too.
Dustin Tucker.
He's got to make playoff kicks before he gets that.
Kevin Robinson says they will play Deshaun up until the trade deadline. Peter R. says, I traveled to Indy and Cleveland represented. Tons of Browns fans in the stadium. Go Brownies.
Yeah, definitely.
And last but not least comes from Steve J. Can we get off the receivers' backs? What do y'all expect from DPJ and Moore with no quarterbacks? We see yesterday Amari didn't do anything. To be honest, it's probably not his fault either.
I think that's fair.
Is there a list of teams in the NFL wide receiver touchdowns? Because a lot of other teams are getting crappy play from quarterbacks.
Not this crappy.
No, we're dead
like
last.
this.
We are dead last.
Yeah.
We should look at that.
But I would like to know, like, what are the teams that are ranked 31st, 30th, 29th, 28th in total QBR? Like, how many touchdowns do their wide receivers
I will look
have?
into it.
Because
while
I'm not
doing
going to
that,
let them
Bull-
off the hook because we've had bad quarterback play.
Bull, you
No,
want
but
to
it's a factor.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's not, I mean, a lot of that has to also fall at the feet of the receivers.
Bull,
Because if
I'm
they
gonna
were
go through it real
open,
quick.
you could hit them.
You want to
I don't know if PJ could, though. Go ahead,
shout
Mike.
out your son real quick? Well, I
Yes, folks. I wanted to share this. So I've talked about my son. He is a young actor. And
Young thespian.
he's been in a few, he's about to be in his second performance at the Beck Center. For those who don't know, the Beck Center is a great place. It's in Lakewood. And if you have a child who is interested in acting, but I'm not being paid by the Beck Center. I just love what they do. If you have a child that's interested in acting, in dance, in music, I think those are the three things, right? Acting, dance, and music. I think I'm forgetting one thing.
Politics. No,
No, not politics. Keep politics out of it. If you have a child who's interested, reach out to the Beck Center in Lakewood. It's a wonderful place and wonderful people that work there and work with these kids. They have great classes and all. Oh, and art. That's the other thing. If drawing and painting and stuff like that. They do great work in all these avenues. It's a gem that we have here in Northeast Ohio. And I know it's on the west side, but it's not on the far west side. I mean, it's in Lakewood, for crying out loud. So even if you live on the east side, and maybe there's equivalent on the east side that I just don't know about. But this is what I know. So they do a great job. That's the thing I wanted to shout out the Beck Center. Now, specifically, there's a show. They do, at the Beck Center, they have shows. Sometimes they have professional shows, and sometimes they have the kids that perform, that take all these classes and that, audition for these roles. And my son, as some of you may know, was in a show last year, and he is going to be in two shows coming up.
Put the poster up, Bull.
Now, let me put this up. This is
speaking-
the show that's coming out this week. It's called It's a Madhouse. It's about a guy who's very rich, and he dies, and there's a caveat in his will about who gets to keep the money, and hijinks ensue.
Love when hijinks ensue.
Yeah, right? The Senny Theater, which is their main theater at Beck Center, Now, the Thursday show there, you can't buy tickets to. That's for kids only. That's for schools come down and bring. But there are still some tickets available if anybody's interested. I know it's kids' theater and maybe you're not. But if you want to find out that maybe it might be good for your kid, check it out. The shows will be Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday afternoon. By the way, I'll be a ticket collector for Friday and Saturday night shows. So if you go to Friday and Saturday night show and you hand in your ticket to see where you sit, you'll probably be handing it to me, because I'll be doing that, and I'll be part of the help team tonight as well as they're getting ready for the show, the final stages. So it's going to be a lot of fun, and my son is playing a character named Snake, another animal nickname. He is a burglar, and so he'll be in this show. And he's going to be in another show where he's playing one of the main roles in December. So I'm very proud of him, and I'm proud of all the kids, a number of his friends, and very proud of him being part of the Beck Center and all the great things they do for much of the community.
The bull and the snake. I like
bull
it.
and snake.
Real
Sounds like
quick,
a
I
play
looked
all
up that
of its
stat.
own.
There is one other team in the NFL that only has one touchdown pass to a receiver. The other 30 have multiple, but there's one other team besides the Brown that only has one. Can you name it?
The Panthers?
Incorrect.
New England?
Incorrect.
Chicago? No,
Incorrect.
not
How about that New England win?
Yeah.
I'll give you a hint. Think of me.
the Giants.
There you go.
Wow.
Two teams in the NFL with one touchdown reception.
Yeah, but how the Browns must have the least amount of passing touchdowns, period.
Yeah.
No. Actually, the Giants have only thrown 4 this year.
Oh.
Wow.
Wait, I think the Browns have only thrown 4 too.
Yeah, I think they have 4.
It is 4-4. It is 4-4.
It's good to have
The Browns
company
are
in the
4-2,
basement.
and they're averaging 2/3 of a passing touchdown
Guess
per
it's
game.
not-
And they've
I
thrown
guess
9
it's not a
interceptions.
passing
All
league
3
anymore.
Browns quarterbacks have thrown 3 interceptions this year.
3
Three's
p.m.
Can you imagine being
Barbershop.
4-2 when you have 4 touchdowns and 9
By the way,
interceptions?
who had Bernie and
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift hanging out on their 20